Welcome back to Splice Splatter, the film podcast where classic horror
meets modern gore.
We're your hosts. I'm Siena.
And I'm Al.
And it is Friday the 13th as we're recording. So happy Friday the 13th to us. Happy belated Friday the 13th to y'all. I hope you've been celebrating.
Yeah, we already did our Valentine's, so fuck that. Happy Friday the 13th now.
That's the important one to celebrate.
I forgot we had one. I know. I totally forgot we had one. And I was like, it was a nice little surprise this week.
It is. Yeah, it's a nice little Galentine's Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I also feel like both these films also very romantic, which one might argue more so than the ones that we did for our Valentine's episode. And in fact, we're still on the cannibalism theme with mine at least. So there's like a lot of crossover between the two. But
yeah, unknowing cannibalism with yours for sure.
Indeed. Yes. Yeah. Although not to dive in too quickly, but one of the things that I'm very curious about is, do we think that Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett eat their own pies?
Oh, I don't think so. He looks pretty horrified.
He does look pretty horrified. But there's a part of me that's like, it's so,
She probably does. She's nuts.
I think she does. I 100% think she, especially she does. Once you hear her bragging about, like, it's things like being careful with your coriander. That's what makes the gravy grander. Like, she's eating that gravy, right?
Yeah. She also, like, at some point says something to paraphrase. It's like pussy popping. I know she's talking about cats, but I was just like,
yeah.
Yeah. So,
and Helena had so much fun with that. Helena. Yeah. That's, I have a friend named Helena, so I have to constantly, like, remind myself that that's not how it's pronounced. So apologies, y'all. Oh, good. Yep. Okay. Is there any other housekeeping stuff we need to get out of the way before we dive into our pies?
Oh my God, I don't know. I feel like this is going to be kind of like a beefy episode for us because of the nature of these films. But I mean, for those of you who are just hitting go and aren't reading titles like crazy people,
what are we talking about?
One. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know who does that. I filter through podcasts to be like, I want to listen to you now, but I know some of you don't do that. So I mean, we kind of got a hint with yours, so
indeed, we talked about some character names, so and one of those character names is in the title.
It's Sweeney Todd.
Yes,
and then
attend the tale.
I'm doing Phantom of the Opera, so the 2004. I should be specific because there's
a lot of Phantoms. Yeah, there's actually a few different Sweeney Todds too, which we're not going to go that much into that, but it is. I mean, it's the first adaptation for screen of the musical, but there are previous films of the story of the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Like in The Office, which is always what I think of now. Unfortunately.
And of course, that scene in The Office uses one of the songs that this version cuts completely, so we don't get that in this.
So go watch The Office if you want to see that.
Actually, yeah, if you want to hear them singing about attending the tale of Sweeney Todd, you will not get that here with Burton's version. So go to The Office for that. Yeah, I feel like because these are so beefy, we just need to give ourselves as much time for the film as possible. So
I think so. I'm excited to talk about these. So
I've had such a hard time not texting you about these over the course of this week because, as I told you, these are both films that were like extremely important to 11-year-old me. And I have not revisited them since high school in either case. And
wow. Okay, cool.
Which was like a very bizarre experience, especially watching them back to back, because these were like my two faves in high school.
Oh, really? Oh my God, I love that.
This is a very special pairing for me, and also a pairing which, if I have any degree of cool cred to anybody listening on this podcast at all left, which I can't imagine I do, but if I do, this is the episode where I'm gonna lose it, and I am so ready.
Oh, I know, because I don't know, I always forget sometimes we talk like before and after we record. So last week, I can't remember if we did it on or off, but like we were both theater kids, but I was definitely stage because I couldn't sing for the fucking life of me. I feel like I'm better now that I like belt in the shower in the car a lot. I feel like my pipes, I get a little vibrato happening, whether it's good or bad. Don't ask me. I don't sing in front of people.
Listen, Johnny Depp does not have vibrato, so you've got to point
we got Gerard Butler,
him.
so actually, yeah, you're right. We have two people who like aren't great at singing. But these, so I was like late. I mean, I saw Sweeney Todd when it came out, but Phantom, I just watched in December, and I have the CD. Like I said, I bought bought the DVD. I've been on the hunt for the vinyl. I'm like obsessed. And then obviously Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd is like you look like Helena Bonham Carter right now, and she's just the coolest in this, even though she's nuts. So
I also, for those of you who are watching the video, I need to show off. I have an apron as well, just to go extra into the theme.
Oh my gosh. I know, I'm sometimes sad that we don't do full like body videos.
I know, because we used to be able to show off our fits more, but I felt like for this one I had to give the apron a spot, just so that you all know that that's happening below the screen.
I actually love that so much. Committing.
Yes, I like I said, I had to commit to the bit for this one. Again, theater kid. I also was in a production of Sweeney Todd in high school. Wanted to be in Phantom. We never ended up doing it, but if I'm remembering correctly, because I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before. My first year of high school, I was 12 years old. And so I did this in my freshman year as a 12-year-old. And so given that, if I'm remembering correctly, I was the understudy for Toby, which
God, I love that.
I feel like tells you a lot about me in high school. So this is like my chance to be a Helena Bonham Carter, because that is not who I was last time I was encountering this material.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
First of all, do you have a tidbit to start us off with?
It goes with mine. I'm so beefy on mine that like
Fantastic.
I did my notes a bit different, which I'll talk about.
Same actually. So, I feel like for musicals we had to tackle this a little differently.
Yeah, it'd be very particular, and like it very much is my same setup, but I was very intentional about like what I was interested in, because there is so much.
There's so much.
Happening,
yeah.
So,
yep. Same. I cut down on some sections that I usually give more attention to, like the release and reception for this one, because I was like, we need to give more space to the meat in the pies. Okay, so I do have a tid. I wanted to start us off with a musical tee-up tid. I felt like that was appropriate since we're talking about musicals. So Johnny Depp, I think a lot of people know that he does have a musical background. He played in bands for a long time, but he did not think of himself as a singer. We can understand why. He lip-synced in Cry Baby, which was the only other musical he'd been in, and so that was not his voice. And when he kind of didn't audition for this, but when he's like quote unquote auditioned for this, Sondheim was worried about it being too punk rock. Johnny wanted it to go more punk rock, which I think is quite smart. He was trying to avoid it sounding too similar to the Broadway recording, and was like, I need to do my own thing, especially because I'm not a trained singer. It needs to not sound like I'm trying to pretend to be. But the tid that we're getting to is that in order to prep for this, he ended up deciding, okay, I don't really want to do a whole lot of vocal lessons, because again, that's not my background. That's not what's gonna like. I know it like kind of explains a lot about
that's not my vibe, guys.
That's not my vibe. No, there's a quote from him being like, I just can picture myself like in a studio with somebody telling me to like bring the song up from my bollocks, and I can't do that. And I'm like,
I mean,
that's not him.
Fucking Depp. Sorry. Love him or hate him, whatever.
He's Johnny Depp. Yeah, which he's like Johnny again, Depp. I think I've been very clear on the podcast. I am not a fan of Johnny Depp. I do think this may be my favorite Johnny Depp performance, and so that's like where I'm coming from on this. But what we're getting to is, because he did not want to take a traditional approach and like actually get singing training from professionals, what he did instead was practice while he was commuting for Pirates of the Caribbean 3 at World's End, which it shot in Palmdale, California, and so we would have he said, I would quote, have a 2 hours to work and 2 hours back listening constantly, learning the melodies in the car. So just picture Johnny Depp in eyeliner for both parts, circa 2006, driving down the California highway belting out Sweeney Todd. That's the training that you get to create this performance. I feel like I'm sure somebody drove past him as this was happening and looked over and was like, was that what I think it was?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been quite some cars I've driven past in my LA
I can
stint, and
imagine.
it's probably like, oh, it's probably an impersonator, someone not realizing
Exactly. Yeah, it's
if
not
he's the one
real
driving.
Johnny Depp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also just so bizarre to think that this was shooting at the same time that he was
Yeah,
doing the
that's
Pirates
crazy.
movies. And there's also a lot of cast and crew, well, not cast as much, but a lot of crew crossover too, which we'll get to. So,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
it's
Cool.
interesting. Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yikes.
So,
Okay.
all right. I want to start us off with taglines. Sweeney Todd, the Demon
Mhm.
Barber of Fleet Street. We have 3 taglines. Well, sort of 3 and a half. One is a pair of taglines, a couple, if you will. Which is Johnny Depp is the barber. Helena Bonham Carter is the baker. And I'm like, I get where you're going with this, but it just leaves me wanting another poster that says Alan Rickman is the candlestick maker, and we don't get that. So
Right?
which, like, if we did,
Rules of 3 there.
exactly. Where's my rule of
Yeah.
threes?
Yeah. It's like,
There's also okay, the punctuation of this one is very important. We have beware exclamation mark. Sweeney Todd is coming, period. This Christmas, period.
oh god.
Why is that where the period is?
It's very nonchalant.
Yes,
It's coming.
Sweeney Todd is coming. This Christmas.
Yikes.
Help. Again, a tagline that sounds so porny, unrelated to the movie that it,
if anything's coming in a tagline,
it
my
shouldn't
brain's it shouldn't be. Stop it there.
Stop the cum. So, and then last but not least, the one like actually good tagline that we get is never forget, never forgive, which I think does a good job of summing it up. It's only 4 words. It's got a kind of melodic feel to it. It's everything I want in a tagline. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's perfect.
At least we got one good one, right?
Which in the last year, that's been the best tagline we've gotten out of all these movies.
Which I think probably not accidental that it's like an adaptation of one of the Sondheim lyrics. Like it's the best part of this movie is the Sondheim. But anyway, we'll get there. So, directed by Tim Burton. This is our 3rd Burton in 6 months.
Yeah, I was like, Siena, I can't do another one. You have to do this.
Yeah, which is funny because like immediately when we say Sweeney Todd, I feel like the assumption is that it's gonna be an Al pick. Which like I'm also curious, do you like this movie? Because I kind of got the impression that you don't from last episode.
I mean, again, we're not an opinion pod, whatever. But like, it's of all my favorite, like all of my Tim Burton movies that I love. This fell for me right when he started to go off the rails for me, and I think this one was kind of I don't remember like the exact line, but like this is when it kind of took a turn. So like, it's been a while since I revisited it. I remember loving it. When it came out, it just isn't I don't know, this was the second time I've watched it in a couple months too, and it is I think I just have to like reacquaint myself with it. It's just always not my favorite, and then also compared to Phantom, like Phantom is my new love and obsession, and I love it for so many reasons now. So it's just I don't know. I like the other Tim Burton movies I covered better than this one, so.
I'm embarrassed to say, this is again where I feel like I'm gonna lose any cool cred that I have remaining. I think this might be my favorite Tim Burton movie.
Sure.
And I was not expecting to be saying that coming onto the pod, because what I remembered from high school was that even at age 12, I loved it. I watched the movie in class before we like did the show. And I remember being like, this is really cool. And also, I'm embarrassed by it. And like,
yeah. But like in the field of like musicals and especially adaptations, I can get that as like a hardcore theater kid.
I think it's very like, I'm trying to think of the right word to use. I just very much associate the 2007 Sweeney Todd with this particular flavor of millennial cringe. And so I was expecting to watch it and be like, oh my god, it's even worse than I remembered. Because like if 12-year-old me already was like that, and now coming back to it as a 28-year-old, I'm like, this fucks. This is amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, awesome.
I loved this so much more than I was
you're like
re-obsessed
with it, obsessed with it for the first time.
I've been listening to nothing else all week, Al.
That's actually kind of the best feeling when you like fall in love with. I mean,
I re-fell in love with it. over this. And so that's like,
Ugh.
I think going to be the through line of my
Yeah.
half of this episode is like, here are all of the reasons that I actually think this movie is a masterpiece.
Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, my brain just needs to like, I think I'm like reverse of you where I'm now too critical of it because the music's amazing, the wardrobe's amazing, and there's like nothing inherently, and I'm like, what is it? So I need you to tell me because I don't know why my brain is not as enthused about it as I used to be. I mean, I Tumblred the fuck out of this movie.
Does not surprise me. I feel like I feel like Al probably has somewhere in their house right now those like tiny glasses that Helena has on the
oh my God, yeah.
the
I
beach
definitely had a
scene.
pair of those.
Yeah.
Her beach outfit.
Oh, I know, it's so good. I wish I found
Amazing.
facts about that specific costume. I didn't find anything about that one. But anyway, yeah, so that's gonna be the thesis
I love
of
that.
this episode is here's why I think we should all revisit Sweeney Todd and
Hell yeah.
celebrate it.
That's actually perfect.
Great. So, because this is our third Burton in 6 months, I don't feel like we need to go a whole lot into the history of who Tim Burton is and what he's done. I also think like this is certainly not the last Burton that we'll cover, but I think we've now kind of hit the big three. Like we've hit the most important ones after this. So, I'm not going to go into any more Burton. If you want that, go to the other episodes. But we have so much to talk about with the source material for this. So buckle up for so many writer credits because this is a movie based on a stage musical, based on a stage play, based on a Penny Dreadful. So there's a whole lot. The screenplay, so the version that we're getting here, is by a man named John Logan. John did Skyfall, he did The Aviator, Gladiator, Penny Dreadful the series, Alien Covenant, Hugo, Rango, The Last Samurai, and he unfortunately is the person who wrote and directed the 2022 slasher movie They Slash Them. Yes. He is openly gay, which I think is like important context for how campy this movie is. But that's the person who is adapting this for the screen.
Amazing.
The musical is from 1979. It is by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler. Wheeler wrote the book, which is essentially like all the non-song bits, which is honestly not a whole lot in this musical because this is, I think it's about 80% of the stage play has music under it, even if it's not 80% sung, which is a huge amount even by musical standards. So Hugh Wheeler wrote the book. He's a playwright. He also wrote the book for Sondheim's Little Night Music, and he's officially credited as a consultant, quote unquote, on Cabaret, but is widely also listed as one of its writers. So it's quite likely that he was one of the people who wrote the screenplay of Cabaret, and just like because of WGA rules and restrictions, he didn't get full credit for it. Sondheim, who wrote the music and lyrics, is like one of the best, if not the best music theater composer of all time. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna come at me for saying that. Like, he's a genius. I say my eye twitching.
That's not a hot take there.
No.
Not at all.
He did Company, which is my other. This and Company are my two favorites. I know. Oh my God. Okay, we've got to geek out about Company at some point.
Absolutely do.
Yes.
We did that in high
It's
school,
not a horror, but it is horrifying in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean.
It's the horrors of the straight world, the straight dating world. So he did Company. He did Into the Woods, which I also did in high school. Merrily We Roll Along, Sunday in the Park with George, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and the lyrics for West Side Story, but not the music for it. Like, he's that bitch.
I mean, truly. Royalty.
Yeah. He's music theater royalty. And the original straight play is from 1970, so 9 years before Sondheim's version. It's by a man named Christopher Bond, who is a prolific British playwright, but whose works I don't personally recognize anything else that he's done. And again, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm not going to list a bunch of titles that I don't recognize. I'm so sorry. But his major and very, very crucial contribution to the lore of Sweeney Todd is that he's the one who comes up with the whole vengeance plotline. So the judge, the rape, the false imprisonment, all of that comes from Christopher Bond. Before that, it's just he's a demon barber. We don't get any reason for why he is is the way he is.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that is so much of what makes this work as well as it does for me.
It's everything, yeah.
It's everything. So that's a huge part of how the story comes to be the way it is. So I wanted to give a second for Christopher Bond. The other thing about his stage play is that he wrote some of the characters in blank verse, which is, do you know what blank verse is?
I don't.
Okay, blank verse is verse that is, it's not rhymed, but it does have a meter to it, so like a specific rhythm to it. It's usually iambic pentameter. So he basically wrote parts of the stage play almost like Shakespeare, which was then a really big inspiration for how Sondheim wrote the music. Interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So cast, obviously we have Johnny Depp as Benjamin Barker, Sweeney Todd. He of course makes his debut in Nightmare on Elm Street, which we covered. Ditto Sleepy Hollow. He's also in Platoon, Crybaby, Edward Scissorhands, Benny and June, Dead Man, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Pirates of the Caribbean, Corpse Bride, Into the Woods, Tusk, etc., etc. He's in so much. I'm sure he will pop up many more times on the pod, regardless of Siena's feelings about him.
Secret Window.
Yeah, Secret Window. How did I not shout that out? We just almost covered it last month. Yeah. Okay, we will be coming back to Secret Window at some point. I feel like we'll also probably cover Edward Scissorhands sometime.
We have to. Yeah.
So, Helena Bonham Carter, my queen. Oh, Carter, my Carter.
Truly.
Oh, Carter, my Carter.
I just cry how much I love her.
Yeah, she's everything. As Nellie Lovett, I would die for her. She's everything. She's Lucy in A Room with a View, Ophelia in the 1990 Hamlet, Olivia in Twelfth Night, Morgan Le Fay in Merlin, Marla in Fight Club, Jenny in Big Fish, Beatrice Baudelaire in the 2000 series of Unfortunate Events, which is the first movie that I remember seeing in theaters, Mrs. Bucket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Corpse Bride in Corpse Bride, Bellatrix in the Harry Potter movies, Rose in Ocean's 8, Princess Margaret in The Crown, and on and on. I think it's very important for this that not only, she was obviously Burton's partner at the time they made this. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But she also has this really strong background in Shakespeare, and I think that is so crucial for the work that she does here. Another classically trained actor, Alan Rickman as Judge Turpin. We all, I think, know him as Snape from Harry Potter. He's also Hans Gruber in Die Hard, the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Marvin the Depressed Robot in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I love. It's so good. Harry in Love Actually, Metatron in Dogma, and Alexander Dane in Galaxy Quest.
Yes, I was hoping you'd list Galaxy Quest.
Obviously, we have to end on Galaxy Quest. Give it the button. We have Timothy Spall as the Beetle. He's Major Alistair Gregory in Spencer, which I also really, really liked. JMW Turner in Mr. Turner, Churchill in The King's Speech, Wormtail / Peter Pettigrew in Harry Potter, probably where a lot of people know him from. Mr. Poe in that same 2000 series of Unfortunate Events, Thomas Tipp in Vanilla Sky, Richard Temple in Topsy Turvy, Maurice in Secrets and Lies, and on and on and on. He's a major character actor. He's another one of those faces where you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Yep, absolutely. And he kills it every time.
Sacha Baron Cohen, who I must admit I find unbelievably hot. Like, I feel like I one of these every episode. I know it does.
You throw me every time you find these men. Men.
There's very few.
Oh my god.
There's very
it's so funny though.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't like his I don't really I'm not a fan of his films.
Like Bruno and Borat and stuff like that.
Yeah. But him in roles like this, and I know I didn't see the Les Mis adaptation, but
he's incredible.
I've heard the music for it, and he's so good.
He steals the show. He's my favorite part of that movie by far.
That song is also amazing. So
yeah, it's The Landlord. He's so good.
It's so good.
So yeah, he's Bruno and Bruno, Borat and Borat, as well as Borat's subsequent movie film, John Gerard in Talladega Nights, the voice of Julian in Madagascar, which I think was my first exposure to him. The station, is this part of why I have a crush on him?
Oh my
Oh
god.
no! Gonna put that back in the closet.
Yeah. Unpack that later.
Shut it down. He's the station inspector in Hugo. He's Thénardier in Les Mis, which again feels very connected to this performance too.
Absolutely.
He's the BBC anchor in Anchorman 2 and Abby Hoffman in The Trial of the Chicago 7, which I've been meaning to see. I heard that he gives a really good like dramatic performance in that. And I'd love to see him in that mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jamie Campbell Bower in his big screen
Baby
debut.
Bower!
Baby Bower! He is 19 at this point. He is 19 years old. He is a teenage Bower. It's his big screen debut. It wasn't his first role ever. He was in actually an unaired pilot of Game of Thrones. But it's
what?
I know. Oh my God. Isn't that wild?
That's crazy. Fan edit. Somebody.
Yeah, I need to see it, even if it's just the stills. I'm sure something exists still. He goes on to play Caius in the Twilight movies, young Grindelwald in Harry Potter, Jason City of Bones, and obviously he's Vecna in Stranger Things. He's like every YA fiction adaptation has Jamie Campbell Bower. It's amazing. This is also the screen debut of Ed Sanders as Toby, and one of only 3 screen roles ever for Laura Michelle Kelly, who I believe is, I should have written down who she plays. I think she's Lucy. I think she's Lucy. So there was also originally going to be a sort of Greek chorus of ghost narrators, which do not exist in the stage play, do not exist in the musical, was something that Burton had come up with specifically for the film adaptation. And one of those was going to be Christopher Lee.
Really? Oh,
I know.
Damn it! Now I just feel robbed of Christopher Lee.
Know. And the thing is, he feels the same. He was so stoked to do this. And it's really sad why it wasn't able to happen, because it wasn't even that it was a creative decision. It was because during production, we're going to talk about it, but the production schedule for this was quite tight by musical standards. And in the middle of production, Lily Rose Depp gets horribly sick and has to be taken to the hospital. And Johnny Depp has to stop working, and they stop the shooting for a while. And because of that, because they had to pause, they have to start cutting stuff. And one of the things that gets cut is the ghost narrators. So it's tragic. It also means we never actually got, like, there's no even stills of what this was going to look like because none of it ever got shot. But it's kind of charming to me to know that he was really, really excited for this. He was like, I get to be in a musical. I get to be in a Sondheim musical.
No, poor baby.
He even in interviews says afterwards, like, I guess it would have been even harder if I'd shot a little bit of it and then they had to cut the character. But he was so sad.
Oh, God, he seems so sweet.
I know. So this, I wish we could have had even like a deleted scene of it. I don't think that the movie needed it. I think it was ultimately for the best, but I want that little tidbit. Okay, so this movie is produced by Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, and Richard Zanuck's company. Richard Zanuck is 20th Century Fox royalty via his father, who was like the head of 20th Century previously. This is not a 20th Century production, though, but just Richard Zanuck goes on to be a very important figure in this, so just put a pin in him. Writing. Super quick Sweeney history rundown. Sweeney Todd first appeared as a character in the 1846 to 47 Penny Dreadful String of Pearls, which again, talk about porny titles, but I'm so sorry. Which already actually String of Pearls had the character name, so everybody was like, it was Sweeney Todd, it was Mrs. Lovett, it had the meat pies, it had the barber, it had the mechanical chair. All your basic ingredients were there except for the things that humanize Sweeney. There are, of course, as I feel like is always the case with these kinds of stories, a ton of rumors that this was based on real murders. Fascinating, particularly given that String of Pearls was published more than 40 years before Jack the Ripper, which is, I think, what a lot of people... I know, yeah, it's like kind of presaging it a little bit, which is unnerving. But there are accounts of what I've seen described as a quote-unquote gothic urban legend, which I love.
I love that.
Of a similar-ish murder that allegedly took place in 1820s Paris, which is described in a text called A Terrific Story of the Rue de la Harpe, which has a murderous barber and a pastry chef. So there's some similar stuff going on.
Yeah.
I kind of just think that the idea of humans in pastries was just sort of weighing heavily on the Victorian and proto-Victorian consciousness. Like, there was...
Right.
Like, I think they just, like, there was not enough food, and society was
just laying there.
Yeah, society was fucking over the poor, and when that happens, I think cannibalism and fears of cannibalism both go right up.
Gotta put the body somewhere. On display,
Gotta put them somewhere.
Catacombs, or in a meat pie.
In a pie, exactly. So, surprise, new to the podcast, never before done corner, a music theory rant corner, which is why I have given you several links to click for this next section. So, because, you know, we're talking about musicals for the first time, and because we're in the writing section, I was like, we need to talk about Sondheim's composition, particularly because it is so important to the movie that we get. And obviously, I'm not going to give like a whole music theory lecture, but I wanted to bring in two fun tidbits about the composition that I wanted to give us musical examples for. So most of this, I want to give credit to a professor and theater academic named Larry Avis Brown, who wrote like this amazing long analysis of the music and like Sondheim's composition process. But within that, I wanted to talk about two things, one of which is the tritone. Have you heard of a tritone?
I mean, I feel like I have, but now I blank every time you ask me a damn question on this podcast.
So sorry.
So. Maybe not.
I feel like you might have heard it by its other name, which is the devil's chord.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Do you know what this is? The devil's chord?
I mean, I believe so. I feel like I've heard that term before.
It's really fun. I feel like all of us in the gothy space have some degree of familiarity with it. It's a chord that splits the octave in half exactly. It's right in between the two sides of the octave. And it's really, really dissonant and really kind of unsettling and like it doesn't resolve. And it's a chord that was associated in medieval music because of that dissonance with Satan, to such a degree that there's actually a common misconception that it was straight out banned by the Catholic Church. It wasn't banned, but people were kind of scared of it. There was like a genuine belief that this was not a chord you want to be playing. Here's what it sounds like. I'll have you click your first link now.
Perfect. It's like organ music is what it sounds like.
Yeah. And that the intervals that you're hearing there comes up in song after song in Sweeney Todd. Specifically, you'll hear it in A Little Priest in the harmonization that Lovett and Todd are doing. They're singing a tritone. And it underlies the melody of The Worst Pies in London. A lot of the intervals that she's singing there are that devil's chord interval.
That's so cool.
Isn't that fun?
I love that.
So that's our first musical tid. Our second I'm even more excited about because this was something that I had not heard of before, but as soon as I played the clips that you're about to hear, I was like, oh, that's what that is. Yeah. So there is a Latin hymn called the Dies Irae, which I'm going to have you open up your next link. It has been used over and over in movie scores to symbolize death, but it started out as this kind of like Gregorian chant. So I'll have you listen to that next.
Well, we can insert what we can too. So I'm hoping you all are hearing this as I'm listening to this.
If not, I'll insert it in the audio afterwards. I want to make sure that the people get this.
Yeah.
and it's like just that little musical phrase. May sound
Oh my
familiar.
gosh.
Does it sound ringing some musical bells?
Yeah.
So they use it in Star Wars. I believe they use it in Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. It
Mhm.
also happens at the beginning of The Shining, which is your
Shining.
third link. I'll have you click that
Yes.
one next.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Hmm.
I have to
So
like
it's
go
that.
back. I'm going back and forth. Nobody knows, but I'm going
Yeah.
back and forth. Wow.
So you hear it's that like exact same little melodic bit, right?
Yeah.
That little bit, because it's like dirge music, and so it becomes over the centuries associated with death, and film composers pick this up and are like, oh, when there are characters dying, I'm going to put a dies irae in here. And
Mhm.
it's like almost all the music in Sweeney Todd has like a
Yeah.
little reference to it in one song or another. A couple of places. Pretty much anytime you're hearing vengeance being plotted, this is going
Mhm.
on in the background. Sometimes Sondheim even inverts it. So,
Ooh.
like a good example of that is My Friends. The like, these are my friends, see how they glisten.
Mhm.
It's the inverse of the dies irae, and he's having
Ugh.
it go ascending instead of descending.
Yeah.
Um, there's like a
Genius.
whole series of YouTube videos tracing this. If you want to check it out, it's from a channel called
Yeah.
Into the Hoods, which I thought was
Oh my
adorable.
God, I love that.
Um, but one of the most obvious and striking places you'll hear this is in the song Epiphany, which is the one where like Sweeney breaks the fourth wall. He's like going through the
Mm.
streets, singing about how he's gonna kill everybody. You'll
Yeah.
hear all of the musical accompaniment is directly playing the Dies Irae, and then Sweeney sings it when he sings the "They all deserve to die, tell you why,
Ugh.
Mrs. Lovett, tell you why." He's doing a
Ugh.
Dies Irae there.
That's
So
so
like everybody
cool.
deserves to die, I'm gonna tell you in the music.
Oh gosh. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck,
He's
man?
a genius. He's a genius. So that concludes our little mini tiny
Music.
desk music theory rant corner.
It's so
Um
nerdy in the best way. What a fun thing to like. I'm sure that if anyone listening, you're like a music nerd. I'm sure
this
you
is like
probably know this,
the
but
most watered down version, but
oh
because I didn't know the Dies Irae outside of like the Shining context, I was like,
yeah.
I
I
do
know I'm
know
like
this.
I
Yeah.
want to go through and listen more
Mhm.
to the link you sent. So
The other place you'll hear it, since you brought up The Office and the
mhm.
Office Sweeney Todd,
Yeah.
all the chorus in that first song that gets cut from Sweeney Todd the
Mm,
movie, the like lift your razor high, Sweeney da 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 da,
yeah.
that's also the Dies Irae. So
Ugh.
it plays
Once you know it, you
even
cannot hear
more,
it.
yeah, in there. So just another little fun fact for all you music nerds
So
out
go
there.
watch The Office.
Go watch The Office. Conclusion. The thesis of this episode is
Yeah,
go watch The
no,
Office.
that's Al's
Please
thesis.
don't.
Don't listen to me.
Okay, so
That's so
that's
cool.
as technical as I'll get on the music, but I just
Oh,
had
I
to nerd out
love
on it for a
that.
second there.
Oh, no,
Um,
I am so happy to have that information and kind of like peek deeper into that. That's a really
mhm.
fun nugget.
So now we get into the history of how this movie comes to be, now that we've got a little bit of the writing background before the screen. So Tim Burton originally saw this way back in 1980 in his Cal Arts
Wow.
days. Yeah, isn't that adorable? He was on
Yes.
like a trip to London. I don't know if it was during the school year, or, like part of school, but he was at
Mhm.
Cal Arts at the time, and he got obsessed.
Oh,
He immediately picked up on how cinematic it was, even though, as he says, quote, I didn't know if I would be making movies or working in a restaurant. I had
mm,
no idea what I would be doing. I just
sure.
wandered into the theater and it blew me away because I'd really never seen anything that had the mixture of all those elements. I always felt like it was like a silent movie with music in it, those old
Oh,
black and white horror movies, which
he would.
we're gonna talk a lot about how much this is a silent movie with music in it, in like
Yeah.
every level of the production design, the music, the costumes, everything.
Mhm.
Um, it also very clearly influences the color palette we eventually get.
Yes.
But we'll not get ahead of ourselves there. We're still with young Burton meeting Sweeney in 1980. Young Burton meeting Sweeney in
Are you
1980
right?
loves it so much that by his late 80s Beetlejuice era, when he's finally starting to get some momentum as a filmmaker, he
Mhm.
reaches out out to Sondheim personally to ask him about making a film adaptation. I know, it's so nerdy.
Funny.
I love it. It's so cute. He says that he saw the stage play 3 times in a row and then started going back after that, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds right, you little nerd.
I was gonna say, and we've talked about too, like, he was doing Disney movies and like hated it and didn't want to do like this fluffy stuff, so I'm sure he was like, oh my god, Pete, like, this is speaking to me on a deep personal level.
Oh my gosh, I love Travis's reacting King Julian in the chat. Glad to know that was a surprise to somebody. Good. So he'd reached out to Sondheim in the late 80s, but we don't get this movie until 2007. Why? As Sondheim says, quote, after he asks him if he can have the rights, Sondheim recalls, quote, I said fine, then he went off and did other things. Which, like, hurts my heart.
Do you think, though? Well, I don't think, oh my god, what would it have been?
I know. Well, especially because he didn't meet Depp until I think it's 1990 when they first worked together.
Right, and he did Pee-wee, and Pee-wee is how his career actually took off, where he got budget, so he probably wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine, especially because this is so in conversation with Edward Scissorhands. I feel like we would have gotten a different movie had he not made that first. Because this feels like the dark side of the mirror to that almost.
Yeah.
So I guess Burton lets this fall by the wayside for whatever reason. He's got a lot of other projects in the air, but I also think part of it is this is a hard sell for studios. Like, it's a musical, sure, but also, in the late 80s, early 90s, there weren't a ton of movie musicals being made, particularly not successful ones. Things change once we get to the 2000s, as we'll talk about with both of our movies.
Yeah.
But particularly when you're trying to sell not just a musical, but also a musical slasher, this is really the only one. Like, there isn't another one. And so there's no point of reference for a studio to be like, oh yeah, it'll sell because this sold. So I think probably he just couldn't get the money for it. That's my personal take. But that's not backed up by an interview or anything. That's just me reading between the lines. So he goes off, does other things. At that point, obviously, Burton didn't know either of the actors who go on to be the leads, which I think is also another, even just trying to imagine this without Helena Bonham Carter is like, the movie would not work. It would. She is the gluing it all together. And even with all of that personal backstory to this project, Burton is not the one who's supposed to direct it.
Really? What? I would have always...
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So hard to imagine.
Oh my god, imagine hearing that and you're to him and was like, wait a second.
I know! This was my baby from the 80s. And when a studio when DreamWorks specifically starts developing it, it's not with Burton attached. Do you have any guesses as to who it is? You're not going to. That's not fair. It's like not anybody you'd expect. This is
great. Even if it was someone I do expect, I probably wouldn't know. No.
I'm so sorry. That was like a bad setup to this. Yeah. Because
thanks, Siena.
It's fucking Sam Mendes, the director of American Beauty, is supposed to make Sweeney Todd, which is like, he's fine, but why would you think that he'd do this?
Like, didn't have anybody to do it and forgot about Burton.
Mendes has done a lot of great work with stage plays, but I just don't think it would have been a good match with the horror aspects of this movie. But it starts out as part of the same post-Chicago spate of attempted musical cash-ins that caused Phantom way back in 2003. And 2003 is actually when this first started in development at DreamWorks.
Really?
Around this, I actually found an article from 2003 that was talking about both of our movies starting in development at around the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
And as you can imagine, under Mendes, the cast was going to be very different. It hurts me to think about this.
It's not weird enough, huh?
It's nowhere near weird enough. It's weird in a bad way. It was Todd was going to be Russell Crowe. Yeah.
Of course it was. Can he sing? Oh, he can sing. Yeah, he was in Les Mis. Beginning? I don't
know. And for Mrs. Lovett, the 3 names that I saw from a reputable source were Emma Thompson.
Oh, wow.
Which, like, I love her. It's a very different version of this character. Even more different, Imelda Staunton, who's the one who goes on to play Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter.
Whoa.
Very much casting more along the lines of the Broadway version, but like
sure.
Very, very different energy than what we end up getting. And third, Toni Collette. Which now I'm like, I want to see that. That's the only one of these that I'm interested in, but I'm very interested.
Because you know she would have done something weird with it. So
she would have done something really fucking weird.
Russell Crowe and Toni Collette as Sweeney Todd,
directed by the director of American Beauty.
How the fuck do you sell that?
How is that the version of this that first gets sold?
Wreck.
Like, imagine you're Tim Burton reading this in the papers in like 2003, and you're like, I'm right here.
Yeah,
I'm right here.
Horrified.
So, what happens in the ensuing 3 years is Mendes brings on screenwriter Logan, who's at that point fresh off of Gladiator. Logan writes the screenplay, and then Mendes leaves the project, seemingly to make the movie Jarhead, which I'm like, okay, all right, very different career turn, but and then at the same time that Mendes drops this project, Tim Burton is working on a Ripley's Believe It or Not movie, and that falls apart. It was going to star Jim Carrey.
I'm sorry. I used to collect those fucking books, and I
my gosh.
That. But I also, Sweeney Todd's great. So
yeah. And especially, I feel like Tim Burton working with Jim Carrey just feels like too much. It's too much. I love both of them separately. Yeah. But I don't think they'd work together.
Each other.
Killed each other. Like it's like 2 North Pole magnets. Like I think they're just gonna like push each other apart. So that falls apart largely because the costs were ballooning, which Jim Carrey costs a lot. And because that fell apart, he had an opening in his schedule. And so he reaches out to Johnny Depp, but we're going to get to that story in just a second.
I love this.
It's like the complicated web that gives us the people working on this that we actually eventually get is so wild. There's so many alternate versions of this movie that could have been and would have been so bad. It ends up being a really good thing that Burton had already won over Sondheim in the late 80s because Sondheim retained approval of both director and actors. So every choice there has to go through Sondheim, which I love.
Amazing. As it should.
So that means that Burton has an easier path than I think somebody else coming into this might have, because Sondheim already knows him as his #1 biggest fanboy, which is like exactly what you want, especially because Sondheim has had a lot of his work adapted to movies that has not quite worked. And like, that's kind of been the thing with Sondheim up until this movie, is like, he's great on stage, he doesn't work on film. Right. And so he is, I think, kind of justifiably nervous going into this, especially because this is, by a lot of people, considered his best work, too. This is like peak of the peak. And so it's like the stakes for fucking this up are really high. The stakes for not fucking this up, rather, are really, really high. So then once Burton gets brought on, Logan and Burton rework the screenplay together, even though Logan had already written a draft of it. He's like, okay, new director, new take. We're going to start over, which I love. Seems to have gone pretty smoothly, actually, based in no small part on the two of them having a shared fondness for British 60s and 70s low-budget horror movies, which I find very cute. Incredible. Makes a whole lot of sense for the movie we get. As Logan puts it, quote, "Everything I've done for the past 5 years has been hand in glove with Steve Sondheim. I wouldn't suggest for a second that his DNA is not on every page, every note of music, in every frame. You could not find a bigger fan of the piece." Which I think is, I just want to really set up how much this is a movie made by fans. Which I think is so important to how well it turns out. So, moving into themes, approach, and history. I promise we're going to get to the story of how Johnny Depp comes on board in a second, but...
Oh, I don't even care. I love everything right now.
Fantastic.
Take your time.
Good.
I'm invested.
So, we've got to talk a little bit about gore, because this is a gory movie.
Much blood.
There's so much blood. And, like, you know, this is kind of the exact opposite of a whole lot of the films that we've covered on the podcast recently, where the approach has been keep everything off screen, show as little as possible so that people can imagine the violence and that will be more horrifying. Burton instead, as he says, quote, "The first thing that came out of my mouth to executives was, there's gonna be blood in this movie, so don't even ask."
He's like, I know exactly what I want. I've been thinking about it for decades.
It's blood. And producer Zanuck, as I said, he's going to play a pretty big role for producer in this podcast. He argues that, quote, "If there were less, the film would be more gruesome," which I think goes to what we've been talking about with previous episodes. It's like, the less gory, the more brutal in so many ways. And so this is intentionally more gory to be less brutal. Zanuck also openly compares it to Kill Bill blood, which I love that they were like very conscious of that as they were working on it. They're like, yeah, it's Kill Bill blood.
Yeah.
Also, okay, I don't know if this was a mistake on the writer's part. I'm going to quote it as real because I'm curious about it and want to see if somebody else has any more info. In the New York Times article about the movie when it was first released, they say that the blood used was red liquid latex instead of typical movie blood, so that it's like viscous, which it looks like it to me. I also have never heard of that being used as movie blood, so
sounds
just
expensive.
It does sound expensive. So I'm like, I'm wondering
so that would be my only caveat.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe it was only for the throat-slitting scenes.
That's what I'm wondering too, maybe, and they had no idea what they were writing about.
Yeah, that sounds right. So just like take that with a grain of salt.
But
at
some point,
it would appear that was used in one area or another. So we'll get more to the makeup and effects later, but first we have to talk more about the adaptation, because a lot gets cut from stage to screen. I think this is one of the major differences between our movies, actually, because I think yours is a pretty faithful adaptation of the Broadway play.
Yeah,
this one, so the stage version of Sweeney Todd runs about 3 hours. This movie clocks in at 2. So a full third of the story and the score gets cut out. And again, all of this is done under Sondheim's supervision. So the Ballad of Sweeney Todd, that's the one that they're singing in the office that has the Deus Irae repeated a whole bunch in it. Burton immediately cuts that, even though it's one of the most iconic songs in the stage version.
Not in my Sweeney Todd.
He's like, I'm not impressed. Well, his argument, which makes sense to me, is he's like, the song is talking about attending the tale of Sweeney Todd. You're already in the theater. And with a movie, you really don't need that in the same way you do with a stage play.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a completely different medium. So what necessity would that have had unless it opened with that and pretended to welcome you in? But that's not Tim Burton's vibe.
That's not the vibe. It's not the vibe. I think it was a good decision to cut it, even though I love that song. Burton also really did not want song interspersed in bits with dialogue, so a lot of little musical bursts and refrains get cut too. Particularly in the stage version, there's a lot of parts where the chorus will sing and will do little bits of the Ballad of Sweeney Todd kind of interspersed with what's going on, and he cuts all of that. Really, there's very little of anybody except our main characters singing, which is really different from the stage version. He also cuts a whole lot of the Joanna Anthony B plot, which is a bigger part of the stage play. Obviously the ghosts were not in the stage play, but he cuts those. There are also a whole lot of songs that are shortened by a number of verses. There are also some that are changed a little bit. And as the music producer puts it, Burton said that he, quote, wanted the music almost not to stop. So the sense of it being through composed, which I think gives it this
very operatic, which
it's
is
very operatic.
Yeah,
I think also another similarity between these two.
Yeah.
And also something that I'm like, I miss movies doing this. I love a
Right?
through composed movie. I know
Right?
scores can be really overwhelming, but I think when it's done like this, where there's really careful like themes and leitmotifs associated with different characters and
Mhm.
plot points and themes, it just adds to it for me. And I feel like we've become scared of this, like as a film
Right.
culture. And I think that was a big part of why I had such a good time revisiting this, was I was like, oh, the music is so juicy.
I feel like it
um
allows you to, especially being an adaptation, like, I feel like theater, you're like, that's all you have to do, right? You have
yeah.
to sit and
Mm-hmm.
you're immersed and you're staring and like, unless you're seeing it in a movie theater, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it helps kind of carry you and immerse you a little bit more because there's
Agreed.
not these like, I don't want to say break points because it's
Mm-hmm.
important dialogue and plot points, whatever. But I do feel like that kind of like 80%, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, music, more operatic
Mm-hmm.
helps
It
keep you in
does.
there.
It does. And I think a lot of the direction choices that Burton accompanies that with are part of that as well, but we'll get to that soon.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
One other major plot point that I wanted to shout out that gets changed from stage to screen is that in the stage play, when Antony goes to rescue Joanna, he can't bring himself to shoot the guy running the madhouse, and instead of locking the doors and locking him in with the women that he's been
Mhm.
torturing, it's Joanna who takes the pistol and shoots him, which,
Oh,
while I love the idea of the women killing him, I also think it was way more interesting to have it be Joanna, especially because it underscores the idea that you get with Toby that, like, not even the most innocent characters are going to make it out of this story with clean hands.
yeah.
Everybody becomes a murderer by the end. And, like, I want to see Joanna murder.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Get him,
that's
girl.
like, that's my biggest quibble. That's it. But a much smaller change that I just wanted to shout out because music theater nerds, I feel like, are gonna get mad if I don't. In the stage version, when Sweeney like is at the end of My Friends, like holding the razor up, he says,
Mhm.
"At last, my right arm is complete again, not just my arm." And I don't know why
Oh,
they cut that. It just doesn't. I don't get it, and it's like a really
interesting.
iconic line. But anyway,
Oh, interesting. Weird.
so contrary to how you usually think of adaptation from stage to screen working, this was really a process of contraction rather than expansion at like every level of the process. And so, as screenwriter Logan puts it, quote, on stage, you can have a chorus sing as the people of London, but I think that would be alienating in a movie. On stage, a declamatory element is understood, but movies whisper at you. For me,
Mm,
movies exist in a close up. And so it makes sense that you get the sense that, like, all of the any singing that would need to happen in a wide shot pretty much gets cut. Um,
yeah.
Sondheim himself was apparently very understanding of this process, and I think this is probably because he's seen his musicals be unsuccessfully adapted before. And so, as Burton recalls it, he says, quote, "We weren't out to film the Broadway show. We were out to make a movie, so we tried to keep the pace like those old melodramas. Sondheim himself is not a real big fan of movie musicals, so he was really open to honing it down to a more pacey shape." Which I love. It's funny,
Of course he
Sondheim is
was.
not a fan of movie musicals. Burton is not a fan of musicals, like stage
Right.
musicals.
And
And
then
so
there they
both
are,
of them, yeah, they just like they
marriage.
come together at this point. Um, there's also a cute little visual shout out to the original Broadway play Hidden in a Little Priest. And this is the first your first set of photos that I'll have you take a look at.
Ooh,
They
yes.
actually strike the pose from the original Broadway show's poster at the end of the song when they're framed in the window with the rolling pin and the knife. That's what they're that's what the
Oh,
original Mrs.
cute.
Lovett and Sweeney are doing, which I just found very sweet.
That's fun.
Um,
That's super fun.
okay, moving into production. I've gotta pick up my pace here. Um, so I told you a couple of little hints about the budget. Do you want to take a guess?
Oh my gosh. When was this made again? When was it
Two,
made? 2003?
it came out in 2007, shot in 2006, so it's a little bit after
Uh,
yours. Which
$65 million.
this I feel like confirms my suspicion that yours is more expensive than mine because it
Yes, it
is
does.
lower.
Oh,
Um,
damn. Okay.
it's lower. It was only 50 mil, which I know is like the highest I've
Oh, wow.
covered, but for a movie musical with this cast is like insane. That's very like they're scrimping and saving to make
I
this at
I
that
was gonna
rate.
yeah, I was gonna say mine has like There's a little back and forth. We might roughly be the same. I think I have some like information of marketing costs. So we
Cool.
roughly, but there's a range, so it could be
Could
10
be
mil
higher.
off, which is wild to say, but
That sounds about right. Yeah.
wild. I mean, that's especially for like at this point, Tim Burton too. It's just like that's a
You would
really good budget.
Yeah, it could have been a lot bigger.
Right.
Which I have a lot of thoughts about why that would be. Again, I think a lot of it goes to the fact that the studios didn't really think this was likely to turn much of a profit, and so they wanted to keep the costs down. But because of that budget size, production was less than 3 months, which again, for a movie musical where you have to stage everything, rehearse everything, that is so short.
Yeah.
They shot at Pinewood Studios in London, which we've talked about several times on the podcast.
Hey, we're gonna talk about it with mine
Oh
too.
my god, look at that! I wondered. I was like, I bet they both saw
paralleled.
Yes,
we are so paralleled with these movies. It's
Love.
so funny.
You really cooked with your choice for yours for this episode. Such a good pairing. So again, short for what this is, especially like, even though there's not a whole lot of dancing, quote unquote, in this, there is a whole lot of choreography of the camera around the characters, which is hard. And takes a lot of time, and most of it is on a dolly track, and that needs to be laid and planned really carefully and measured and all this stuff. So it's impressive is what I'm getting at. Cast and crew. Okay, so Helena Bonham Carter and Burton, as I mentioned, were together at the time that they were making this. They would remain together for 7 years after this film. And Helena mentions on the behind the scenes video that shared love of Sweeney Todd was one of the things they first connected over, which I think is really cute. But she then goes on to joke, like, that's about it, though. That's, like, about as much as we had in common. And, like, after this film, that's it. Which,
God.
It hurts to hear in retrospect, knowing how things ended. But
yeah, I know. The breaking up funny. Was sad for me. But I didn't know anything about them, so.
Also, she is in the early stages of pregnancy during this film, which I find incredibly impressive. Because what I've heard is like the first 3 months are the hardest, and so the fact that neither of us know.
This sounds hard to me.
I think all 9 months are pretty hard, but and
the rest of your life,
the next 18 plus years, and as Helena points out, this is basically one of the hardest roles you could possibly dive into for a first-time musical performer. It does not get harder than Mrs. Lovett. Sondheim is notoriously difficult, but Mrs. Lovett in particular, as she says, is easily the most difficult part in the show. Luckily, though, her parents had raised her on this musical.
Of course they did. That's why she's so cool.
Yeah, it makes so much sense of the person that she is. She says that she actually walked around in Mrs. Lovett hairdos starting when she was 11 years old, which I'm like,
that's
yeah,
where it all
of course
came
you
from.
did. Yes!
That makes, oh my God. She
from
really
the hair
was
on down. Yeah, she was
makes sense.
born to play this role. Which it really sounds like she did not want anybody to go easy on her or think that she got special treatment for being with the director, and so she did do a proper audition. She went to 3 months of singing training. She did the things that Johnny Depp did not.
Yeah.
Which kind of tracks.
Not surprised.
And then once she gets to set, Burton actually has her really significantly dial back her performance and specifically gives her two rules. He says she can't use her hands and she can't use her eyebrows because the music and the orchestra are already expressing so much emotion for her.
Oh.
And I'm like,
if someone told me that, I mean, I guess actors have an ability to know every part of their body and how to move it and in control of it, but that sounds insane. Eyebrows and hands. Okay.
I know. I'm also kind of I kind of see how this relationship didn't work out, but
keep those brows tame, woman.
I control your brows. Get those brows back in the kitchen where they belong. Right. I do think though, her performance is very subtle, and I think that that's part of why I liked this as much as I did. Revisiting it was both both Depp and Bonham Carter are giving these really restrained performances. Like they're doing
Yeah.
close-up acting while they're singing. And a lot of the time you're not seeing that with movie musicals. People are like projecting the emotion in the
Mm-hmm.
same way that they're projecting their voice. And there's like a real disjunct between that here, which you also don't normally get with movies that, like this one, actually have the actors singing on set, but we'll get to that later. So, that's kind of our Helena Bonham Carter preview. Moving on to Depp.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have a couple more notes. Oh yes, this is very important. So, before we get on to Depp on his own, a little bit about the casting of the two of them together, because this was
Yes.
their I believe their first time sharing a screen. Their first time sharing a screen with Burton in particular. But there is kind of this weird sense of fate around their casting, because apparently around 5 years before shooting the film, so potentially around the time that movie musicals were starting to do well again, maybe it was coming back up into Burton's consciousness, he did a sketch of Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett, and he found it again as he was going into pre-production for this and looks at it and thinks, quote, "It kind of looked like Johnny and Helena," or Helena. Those kind of things mean something to me. Johnny had gotten to the point where he was the right age. There was something about it that felt really right, even though I didn't know if he could sing. So
Oh my gosh.
even before he's ever worked with these two as a pair, he's kind of subconsciously imagining them as these characters.
Ugh, yeah, that's
Cute.
just who we saw. Now I want to see his little. I love his doodles. So.
I know, I really want to see that sketch. I tried
Yeah,
to find it. If
I'll
somebody
peek in
else
my
out there
book.
can.
I'll peek in
Yes!
my book and see if it's in there. It might, and
Please.
I'll send a
I would
because
love to see.
yeah.
So now we get to pull that pin out of the story of how Johnny Depp gets brought into this project, because
Not be able to
apparently
sing.
Burton just shows up at Johnny Depp's house like several years beforehand and gives him a CD of the original Broadway cast recording and is like, "Listen to this, Johnny." And Johnny's like, "This is like your welcome, like, thanks for welcoming me to your home gift. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why he
Okay.
gave me that. I
Sure.
don't like musicals. I don't sing." And so Burton circles back to this once he gets brought onto the project and is like, "Hey, remember that CD I gave you?
Oh no.
What'd you think of that?"
He's like, what? Yeah, that CD
from years ago, that old thing. Yeah,
Oh
it's not really
boy.
my thing, but I listened to it, and clearly Sondheim's good, even if it's not my cup of tea. And Burton's like, "Do you think you could sing?" And Johnny's like, "I think I could."
Of course. Yeah, you don't say no.
You don't say no. And so Depp, we already talked about how his vocal performance came to be, but for his acting style, he pulls a lot from Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney, and Peter Lorre, especially Lorre in the movie
Makes
Mad
sense.
Love for the performance here. So again, talking about it being like a silent movie, talking about it being like those old early talkies, we're seeing that in the performance style too. He also, and I found this really interesting, makes a very conscious choice to not make eye contact with anybody when he's in character as Sweeney. Particularly Mrs. Lovett, he avoids eye contact with her at all costs and says, quote,
Ooh.
"I thought the only time he'd have real intense eye contact would be with his wife when they were younger or with Judge Turpin. I really tried to stick with that." And yeah, as you
Love
watch through
that.
it, he never connects like that with Mrs. Lovett. There's like
Oh,
a couple of moments where they have like a
sure.
fleeting eye contact, but for the most part, she's staring adoringly at him and he's looking somewhere else. And you
I
hear,
mean, oh,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say specifically in the whole kind of like montage of different scenes when they're singing, he really is just like deadpan. I mean, that's the most
Yeah.
obvious example of it. But yeah, sorry. That was my
No,
brain is just like
absolutely.
fluttering through the movie right now thinking
Yes,
about
love. Good. Flutter away. Um,
that.
which I also think you hear that in music too, where I was thinking about this even, I was listening to the soundtrack on my drive home from work today, and I
Mhm.
was like, oh, it's so interesting. If you listen to the duets that Sweeney sings with the judge versus the duets that he sings with Mrs. Lovett,
Mhm.
he and the judge are always harmonizing on the same melody. They're singing the
Ugh.
same thing. They're in cahoots. They're like mirrors. There's a
Yeah.
similarity coming across in the music. When he's singing with Mrs. Lovett, she's singing one motif, he's singing another, and they'll like occasionally touch, but they're on different pages. And I'm like, ugh, it works on so many levels.
Obsessed with that. Oh man, it's so true too. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, now I'm gonna have to definitely rewatch it just to.
I knew this was gonna happen.
Damn. Genius.
A couple more actor casting stories. Timothy Spall specifically auditioned for Beetle because his youngest daughter was a giant Johnny Depp fan and just wanted a chance to meet him. And so he auditioned for the part just to make that happen. And they did actually get to meet.
Dad.
I know. It's really cute. And like, again, not a Johnny Depp fan, but love that they were able to make that moment happen for the daughter. And what of Jamie Campbell Bower in his major film debut? He says, quote, I was out shopping at the time I got the part, and I got this call on my mobile. I was just like, his voice raises a couple of octaves. Oh my God! I was like a little girl running around the shop going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God! He actually says that he like almost peed himself. He was so excited.
God, he's such a patootie.
I know, but then he gets so nervous for the first musical rehearsal that he says he was by far the worst in the cast, which I'm like, honey, you're 19. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's judging you as harshly as you think they are. And hilariously, I love this. When they asked Sacha Baron Cohen if he could sing, he, in true Sacha Baron Cohen fashion, was happy to prove that he could, but he wasn't yet confident that he could sing Sweeney Todd in particular, because again, famously difficult. And so what does he do instead? He brings in the full songbook for Fiddler on the Roof and does a one-man show of it, almost top to bottom.
That's fucking, I mean, how do you say no to somebody like that? Just for like, be bold. That's what they say in casting. Be bold. Make the bold choice that doesn't make the choice no one else is gonna make, and boy, does he did it.
I so want to hear his version of Matchmaker.
Oh my God, absolutely.
So good.
Somewhere on the internet.
I really, God, I hope
doesn't.
It probably doesn't, but I hope that at some point, like some Vanity Fair retrospective or something, brings this up to ask him to do it.
Yeah, if anyone interviews,
planting that, putting that out into the universe, make it happen. Okay, now we get to making of. I'm gonna go through this as quickly as I can. This is our last major section. Again, I shortened the rest of it because of this, but there's so much to talk about here.
I know.
Cinematography. This is shot by Dariusz Wolski, yet another Polish DP, no surprises there. But this is not our first Wolski, because I feel like you can take a guess what else he's shot that we've covered on the pod.
No, we talked about this. Stop assuming I remember things.
Okay, this one, I think there's a good reason, though. He shot The Crow.
Oh. I thought it was going to be something a little bit closer in timeline than I always think The Crow is earlier than it
is. These are 13 years apart, but when you think about the color palette and that really desaturated to look almost black and white except for these pops of bloody red, plus the sense of the past is in full color and the present is almost in black and white, that's, you can 100% see why he hired the guy from The Crow for that. Wolski was also the DP for Dark City, Crimson Tide, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so he and Depp were working together a lot during this time.
Busy.
I'm just picturing the two of them like sharing their commute together, listening to the soundtrack. Like
he's like yeah, he's like, Johnny, that's enough.
Johnny's like, not one man, no, not 10 men.
Flipping knife.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I wouldn't put it past him. What else has Dariusz Wolski done? He did Prometheus, Alien Covenant, The Martian, News of the World, which actually shot here in New Mexico at Camel Rock Studios, which I wanted to shout out. And most of the recent Ridley Scott movies, including Napoleon, The Last Duel, and House of Gucci. So you can really, he's really good with very stylized stuff. Production design is by Dante Ferretti, who has also appeared on the podcast before. Did I write down what he did? Yes, I did. Okay. That would have been very weird of me. So he, one of his earliest projects was actually Pasolini's Salo or the 120 Days of Sodom, which whew, wild place to start your career. He also did Terry Gilliam's The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen, and then a whole bunch of Scorsese. So he did Age of Innocence, Casino, Bringing Out the Dead, Gangs of New York, The Aviator, Shutter Island, Hugo,
Jesus.
and Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, fuck. Should I have known this name? I should have known this name. That was like 2 years ago.
But again, it's like, you can totally see why you would hire the guy who did the production design for Interview with the Vampire to do this movie. And since this was shot almost entirely on sound stages, there was a lot of room for creative license. So Ferretti went to visit the real Fleet Street, which is actually where most of the London press is located in real life. It's like newspapers. But the goal was horror movie London, not like real authentic period London. And so as Ferretti puts it, quote, "We did something a little bit more frightening, more dark, more interesting." Wow. And the wild thing is, this was originally Burton's original plan was for this to be almost all CG sets, like for it to be a green screen movie.
No.
I know. And I will say there is still some incredible green screen work going on here, and CG work. A good example is the ship at the beginning. That is almost entirely green screen. That's like really? A bunch of boxes covered in like green.
Oh, wow.
Like that's
does
it.
Look great.
So like for 2007, the VFX work is on point. But it's a really good thing that as much was built practically as there was. Like all of Mrs. Lovett's shop is real. It's like, there's green screen behind it to create the 1800s London, but most of the interior spaces that you spend time in are really carefully built, which is very important. Burton himself comes around on this and says, quote, "This is a musical." No shit. Having sets helps you. It helps the actors. It helps the crew get into the right frame of mind. Just having people singing in front of a green screen seemed more disconnected, which I'm like, then why did you think of it at the beginning? But anyway, glad he came around.
Yeah, I'm glad he came. This is when I feel like he was toying with that weird, like when he tips over for me. And so I don't know who was in his ear, especially because he thought about that and then says that statement. So I'm very interested in like where his brain started to shift to at this point in time.
Yeah, because this really is like the movie that divides his career. Like Sweeney Todd is the breaking point, which is so fascinating. Also, a fun little food styling note. As you can imagine, there were a lot of different kinds of pies for this movie. The food stylist gets interviewed on camera and she's like, "I've made like 600 pies. I'll probably make 600 more."
Oh my gosh.
The gross ones at the beginning were actually edible, and apparently, according to the actor who played Toby, they didn't taste as bad as they looked. It doesn't sound like they tasted great, but there were also pies made of fiberglass. There were pies made of rubber. There were pies designed for high temperatures for the cooking scenes, because you don't actually want to be baking real pies on camera.
Right.
So there were so many different, when I say there were different kinds of pies, I'm not talking about flavors, I'm talking about physical materials, edible versus inedible. Costumes. I know. It's like, imagine you bite into one and it's accidentally one of the fiberglass pies.
Oh!
It's like such an upsetting image. Yeah. I'm almost more upset by that than by the human pies.
I'm horrified actually by the fiberglass one. Yeah.
Okay. Costumes. Costumes are by Colleen Atwood, who we mentioned on last episode because she also did Silence of the Lambs, and she did Sleepy Hollow and Chicago and Wednesday and One Battle After Another. And if you want to hear more of her career, listen to last episode. Gore. Speaking of all that gore, the sheer amount of movie blood on this set, because as you said, there's a whole lot of it, actually caused a really funny problem in terms of costumes and a funny solution on set. Here's producer Zanuck with the T. He says, quote, "Everyone was wearing astronaut-type suits because of the blood spattering. If an additional take was called for, the actors had to change costumes and have their makeup done over." So just picture everybody's like walking around in astronaut suits, except for Sweeney
like
Todd.
Hazmat suits. Oh my gosh, just because it's like you're the splatter zone.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And because of this desaturated palette, they had to use really weird colored blood to make it look right on camera. So in person, it was actually really orange, in order to make it
Oh,
pop the way it does, which is funny
yeah.
to picture. You're just like wading around in all this orange shit in like an astronaut suit. I love it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to take some time to talk about the makeup and hair, which like I feel like we don't normally give its own section to, but for this it needs it. Obviously.
Yeah.
So Helena points out that the sunken eyes kind of pale skin look isn't just part of Tim's aesthetic, which like obviously it's a huge Burtonism. We see that with almost all of his characters. It's a big part of why he's gotten critique for being racist. Um, but she also points out that it's also kind of autobiographical in a sense, because she, living with him, knows that he is a massive insomniac and does not sleep, and so is constantly walking around with sunken eyes and pale
Oh my
skin,
gosh.
which I find kind of
Yeah.
charming.
That
Um,
that feels right for him.
it feels
Just
accurate. Feels
doodling in the corner.
feels expected. Yeah. This also I think ties into the looking for a silent movie inspired aesthetic. You see that a lot with this kind of the really intense dark eyes, really
Mhm.
intense dark lips. That was what you did in silent movies so that those features really popped in black and white. Especially when you know, have just your facial expressions and not
Mhm.
words to express with.
Yep.
Or perhaps when your husband tells you that you're not allowed to use your eyebrows.
Yeah,
Um,
when your eyebrows are taken from you, you put those dark circles
exactly.
on.
um, and Depp describes Sweeney's visual aesthetic as, quote, making Sid Vicious look like the innocent paper boy. Which, like,
God.
yeah, pretty much.
I love that.
And according to Depp, at least, he also contributed directly to the makeup look, in particular the purple and brown rings around the eyes, which were
Ooh.
kind of partially intended to make him look like a reanimated corpse, also to look like he never sleeps. And then the white hair streak, it seems like, was also something that Depp contributed a lot to.
Oh, love.
He says, quote, the idea was that he'd had this hideous trauma from being sent away, locked away. That streak of white hair became the shock of that rage. My brother had a white spot growing up, and his son has this kind of shock of white in his hair. And I'm like, what happened to Johnny Depp's brother? But the
Probably
hair,
vitiligo, I feel like.
yeah, true. But the hair does bear a very strong resemblance to mid-80s David Vanian of the punk band The Damned, which is your final set of photos. It's like that skunk streak, it's like taken
Yeah.
directly from The Damned.
Amazing.
I've not seen anybody credit that particularly, but when you
Oh,
see
yeah,
them
it's just
side
like
by side,
it's the same.
it's the
Yeah.
exact same hairdo.
Exact same spot, yeah.
And also The Damned feels like something that Johnny Depp probably grew up listening to.
Yeah.
Given that like the band that he plays in is a punk band, I feel like he's probably
Absolutely.
familiar. So now we get to talk about how the music came to be on set.
Yes.
The music was recorded with a 78-piece orchestra, which is
Ooh.
way bigger actually than the stage show uses, because Burton wanted this really beefy cinematic sound.
Mhm.
Um, and Sondheim, as you might expect, was there for the entire recording process. He stayed
Of
away from the
course.
set, but he was there for all of the recordings, which there's this
You would want
adorable.
that.
Of course you would, unless you're Alan Rickman, because Alan Rickman gives a hilarious
Oh,
interview
God.
talking about how this was like one of the scariest moments of his life. Was he's like there in this giant studio, there's a 78-piece orchestra, and Stephen Sondheim is standing right across the room from you and is like, well, let's hear it. And he's like, I don't know how I sung. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how I did that. At a
Bless
certain
him.
point, your bodily instincts just take
Yeah.
over, but I don't know how that happened. And so to figure out how to reduce the soundtrack, like we talked about all those things that got cut, the music producer, Mike Higham, would actually send Sondheim MP3 files of what he's thinking of.
Mm.
And then he would say, quote, then Sondheim might say that's okay, or change that F sharp to a B flat. So he was really involved in these minor adjustments. So
Amazing.
even the areas where it's not like quote unquote true to the musical, it is still
Mhm.
coming from
Him.
Sondheim, which
I love that.
mwah, we need that.
Yeah.
And so obviously the songs were recorded in the studio. That then gets used as a guide track. It's played on the set so that they've got the timing just right. But everybody also has to sing live on the set because Burton doesn't want any lip syncing. He doesn't want those moments where you're not seeing the vocal cords move. And he also wants them to be in that headspace that you get in when you're singing live. And I think it really adds to the performances. But this becomes very tricky because that means that they had to do the live recordings before knowing their exact blocking. And when you get to something like Worst Pies in London, where you're constantly moving and doing rolling pin choreography, it gets really hard to then keep up with that. And so that was something that was especially challenging for Helena. It also meant that they had to record without their scene partners to act off of because they would record one vocalist at a time. And so Helena's doing all of this really intense work off of Sweeney with no Sweeney in front of her. Which, like, oh my God, that is a nightmare as an actor. The upside, though, to working with guide tracks is that Tim could call out directions like a silent film director because he knew that most of the production audio isn't going to get used since they're just singing to be singing, and so he's giving them directions vocally the whole time, which I love it.
It sounds so chaotic. Bless
I know. I'm not sure the actors loved that, but
he was like eating it up. He's like, I get a live performance of this show that I've loved for so long.
That I get to heckle along the way.
I get to control it now.
I also must voice a scandalous thought here that I feel like probably few people are going to agree with me on, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, and you can get mad at me for it. After revisiting this, I almost think Tim Burton works better when he's musically paired with someone other than Danny Elfman.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I don't know if I can agree with that.
No, I don't expect you to, but
interesting.
Like that's interesting. Like I love Elfman. I think he's done some incredible scores, but I also think that so much of what makes this like really grab me the way it does is that, you know, because Burton on his own, and especially in the half of his career post this movie, he like kind of can become very twee at times, right? Like he can lean into that territory. And that like those kind of like whimsical elements for me really get balanced out here by Sondheim's like very dry, dark humor, which is like the exact opposite direction. They're like such polar opposites in so many ways, whereas Burton and Elfman are such peas in a pod that I kind of think sometimes it helps him to have And so like I think there's something about it being a counterpoint instead of an accentuation that
like
really
tapping into a different side of
exactly
him.
Like he brings something different to the table. I don't expect others to agree. I know it's a like sacred collaboration, but I had to say it.
He has different elements to him that I think is really interesting to see. Like imagine what we would get from collaborations outside of that, right? So here's an example, and I do think he has a lot of facets to him, and you know, with his later work especially. I don't that's just an and. You're doing an and, not a or necessarily, because
this is true.
Elfman and him
they're incredible together. But it does like it brings out a different Burton when he's working with somebody other than Elfman. And I think that's really interesting. Okay, now I'm gonna speed run through the release reception, all that stuff. That's again, I cut this section down for this. So okay, this premiered at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York on December 3rd, opened wide on December 21st. I'm kind of surprised they didn't make it a Christmas Day release, especially with that tagline, "He's coming, period, this Christmas, period."
Just
and
kidding,
against just kidding, he's not come yet, period. Just kidding, he already came, period. Just kidding, he came early. Okay, I need to rein myself in. So, budget was 50 mil. Against that, it makes back 153 mil,
Oh,
which is
wow.
fantastic. Performs way better than anybody expects it to.
Damn, yeah.
Especially, again, the expectations are low for how this is going to do financially. And that is in spite of the fact that the ad campaign for this movie made the baffling decision to essentially try to hide the fact that it's a musical to such a degree that, yeah,
What?
like the trailers showed almost none of the singing. There was like a tiny little snippet of it.
Oh, no.
They just advertised it as like a Tim Burton Johnny Depp movie.
Of course, of course.
And like a slasher, but there's like no reference, almost no reference to it being a musical.
Yikes.
And so in England, there were actually walkouts from theaters with people like not realizing it was a musical and then sitting down and being like, "Oh, I didn't sign up for this." And people actually reported it as misleading to the Advertising Standards Authority in England, which like, whoa. Yeah, didn't even know that existed. People have suggested that this was kind of like condescending to audiences, which I kind of agree with. It's like, oh, they're gonna get so scared off by a movie musical that like you've got to hide the fact that that's what it is and like slip it in there. Like, just tell people what they're in for. Don't hide your genre. Then you're gonna get the audience that actually wants to be watching what you're doing. I do think that a big part of this film's success was the timing of its home video release because it debuts on Blu-ray in October of 2008. That is going to be important when we talk about Oscars. But it actually was going to get an HD DVD release, which is a format I forgot existed. But Paramount, that there was like a hot little second there. But Paramount canceled that drop because Blu-ray was on the rise as that technology was getting phased out, and so they decided to put that money towards international Blu-ray releases instead. And it has done so well in DVD sales. It's made almost 40 million just in like home video sales alone, which is insane. In short, very popular movie to pop on in your living room. There was a Ultra HD Blu-ray version in 2024. So if you're a fan of it and want to get the latest, shiniest version, that's what it is. Reception currently holds an 86% from critics and an 81% from audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. Ebert gave it a 4 out of 4. He loved it.
Ooh.
And which, yeah, I was pleased to see that.
I never get a 4 out of 4 from him.
I know. Yeah, he's so rarely in that good of a mood. Except for The Cell, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I think he gave that one a 4 out of 4, which is like
really
baffling. Yeah. Not a 4 out of 4 movie, and I really liked it, but weird choice. Okay, so one of the most important reactions was obviously from Sondheim himself, who is famously picky about his own work, which I mean, like, again, wouldn't you be if your work was this complicated and hard to adapt?
Yeah.
But he seems to have mostly not only like kept away from Burton during the process and like communicated through Zanuck instead, but before going into the first screening, Sondheim asks producer Zanuck if Sondheim's gonna like what he's about to see, and Zanuck said, "If you can leave Stephen Sondheim in the hotel, if you go in as a movie fan, just lean back and enjoy it. I'll supply the popcorn, you just be the fan." And he looked at me and said, "You haven't answered my question."
Oh, God, I love that.
Then he goes in, watches it, and is really pleased with the end results and says, quote, "There were many changes, additions, deletions, but if you just go along with it, I think you'll have a spectacular time," which is really sweet.
I appreciate that response to that.
I do too. I think like that's a really mature response for somebody's whose work is being adapted, and you don't always get that.
Also, it's nice if he didn't like it too.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very either way, it's
PR
extremely diplomatic.
response.
Indeed. It also goes on to garner an insane number of nominations and awards. It wins an Oscar for Best Art Direction, very deserved, and gets nominations for costume design and Depp, but not for Helena, which I think is insane.
Listen, we know how Hollywood works.
It's true. It has 4 Golden Globe nominations and 2 wins. Depp wins, and it wins for Best Picture Musical or Comedy, which I think is a great example of why musicals and comedies should not be grouped together, because a dark musical like this is always going to win over a comedy. Like, it's insane. But that's a rant for another time. Anyway, also got nominations for Helena this time and for Director Burton. It also won an American Cinema Editors Award. It won a Saturn Award for Best Costumes, a Teen Choice Award for Depp for Best Villain, an Empire Award for Helena. Oh my god, I keep doing that. Helena, and a second Best Villain for Depp, this time from the MTV Awards, and that's just cherry picking. And at the MTV Awards, Depp went up and in like very like traditionally garbled Depp fashion thanks the audience for, quote, sticking with him on this very obtuse and strange road, which I'm like, what a weird speech.
Just let him flutter around.
Truly.
Don't pay attention to him in the real world.
This might potentially be in reference to the fact that he'd earlier in the same evening won for Best Comedic Performance as Jack Sparrow, which is like a very funny pairing for those two wins to happen in the same night. But just like, definitely this is, what I wrote in my note was, this was the depths of times for him.
That's really good.
And in the years since its release, this has been named to more than half a dozen different major lists of best movie musicals, both of the 21st century and of all time, including both Screen Rant and Collider put this on their best musical of all time lists. And as I was taking my notes before revisiting it, I was like, how on earth do people think this is this good? Like, I remember this being such a cheeseball movie, and then I watched it and I was like, it is this good, god damn it.
Good adaptation. That's the thing too. Like, it works so well for screen. Like, I've never seen the musical or the Broadway
stage
musical,
version.
So I don't know. So it's just like, for someone like me, you can just take it for what it is too. And I think that's why it feels so successful. Is I'm sure it like opened up a door for so many people to then go see the Broadway play or listen to that.
The only influence note I want to make is that there was a recent revival on Broadway which stars Josh Groban as Sweeney Todd. Wild. And they did an NPR Tiny Desk performance, and I've got to say, it slaps. Like, go listen to it afterwards.
Desk really fucks with some good music on there, so
it's really good. I love that they've started doing musicals too.
That's
like,
really
it's
cool.
It's really fun.
I didn't know that.
And I just want to shout out 3 tiny things from my watch notes, and then I'm done, I promise. The first thing is, I think this would make a really funny pairing with Old Boy, as like movies about men who've been locked up for 15 years and come back for revenge because of what's been done to their daughter.
Yeah, so you don't feel like watching Phantom, you can double feature those.
Exactly. That's the other option.
Let us know if you like that one.
Second, the second that Jamie Campbell Bower came on screen and started singing, Dana turns to me and goes, "Wow, Sid from Ice Age has some nice pipes."
No! No! Also, Sid the Sloth is the best character from Ice Age, so how dare.
We love Sid the Sloth. It's not an insult.
He just a little femboy on screen.
I know. He's so
pretty.
He's so pretty. He's, especially when he's all bloodied up. I'm like, yeah, that really suits him.
Crazy bug eyes.
And my last note, and where I wanted to end it, is my immediate kind of like reflection on my watch experience as soon as it finished was, I had thought, looking back on my watch experience as a teen, that this was the point where Burton jumped the shark, basically. And I actually think it's like him at his best, kind of breaking the fourth wall on what he's about to become. And I'm really thinking especially of the scene, the musical number Epiphany, where he decides like, you all deserve to die, and he starts going out into the street, and he's like moving through this world where everybody else is frozen, he's the only one moving, and he's like singing directly to the camera. I'm like, I feel like that is Burton recognizing the audience and laughing at and breaking the fourth wall at and on all of the things that he's going to go on to do way too seriously and to take way too seriously for the next chunk of his career. And this is like this glorious last moment of true sight over the whole, over what he's doing, and humor at it too, which again I think is a lot of what Sondheim is contributing. And then the last thing is just, you gandered, sir, you gandered.
You really know every word of this, and I love it. I'm so happy you loved it.
I had such a good time. I was singing along the whole time, had to like keep shutting myself up. I'm sure it was a nightmare for Dana. We had pot pies while we watched. It was very fun.
Were you not
Yeah, it was a
grossed out by
whole
that? That
experience.
would have grossed me out. I love that for you though.
I asked beforehand and Dana was
genius.
like, I think it's kind of fun. Yeah.
I know. It really like puts you in there. I love a themed watch like that too.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's
fun.
Sweeney Todd. You've attended the tale.
I gotta watch it again. I think I just need to like reacquaint myself. I feel like you gave me a lot of insight and things to look out for that I need to shut a part of my brain off that does. It's just like as like a such a hardcore Tim Burton lover, especially of his early work. I think I just am too attached and I need to like let it go.
It makes sense. And it's also like, again, I think there's a lot of ways that this is like not typical Burton. Like we don't have so many of the things that, we don't have Elfman. We don't have all of the Elfmanisms. There's a lot that is tonally really different from his usual work. And yet I think it's his best.
Yeah. I mean, it's people love it. It's great. And I don't dislike it. I don't want to say that. I just
You also are you're welcome to dislike this movie. You're welcome to hate this movie.
I mean, if we were covering some of his later shit, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, agreed. We don't need to give Dumbo the time of day. But...
Yeah, it's a lot of CG he uses. Yeah. He goes on to use. Alice in Wonderland, wild. But yeah, no, it's fun to we have a lot of parallels that I'm excited to kind of
I bet
dive into. But oh my gosh, I gotta like we can take a break and then I gotta gear myself up for the beefy notes that I have laying ahead of us.
Oh my gosh, I know this was really two really intense. Like neither of these is the lighter half of the pair. They're both the heavy half.
Yeah, truly. These were very equal, I think, this time. So we can give ourselves a little bit of a break and you all a break, a little break from our voices, and we'll
be right back. And we're back.
And boy, are we.
I know Al is nervous. I'm excited.
It's just like, okay, because again, I just watched, I'd never seen the Broadway play. Obviously, like, I just didn't have access to that growing up, right? So never saw it. And then it wasn't until December, so just a couple months ago that I saw the film. So and just like immediately fell in love. So I'm like nervous because I know the play. I'm hearing myself echo my headphones again. Sorry, guys.
No.
The play and the movie are so beloved that I'm just like so nervous about saying stuff. So I want to hear. Obviously, this was another favorite of yours.
This was another favorite of mine. I actually encountered Phantom before I encountered Sweeney Todd. Phantom was like my first, maybe not my first, but like the first movie musical that I remember getting really obsessed with. I was still homeschooled at the time.
Yeah.
I was like this was my like anytime that I was walking around with like a portable CD player, it was Phantom of the Opera that was playing on it. Yeah, I was that nerd.
Yeah, I didn't look up, kind of like you at the end of it. I didn't really pull up a lot of reactions and response and critics' response to this one, and I know it's really divisive for different reasons, but like I am so obsessed. Like I said, I bought the CD to this already. The music, even this was my second time watching it too.
Oh wow!
And how much I've retained from it, I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be on in the background all the time. So I can't wait to know all of the songs, but I have been frolicking around the house all day.
We love a frolicking Phantom moment.
Yeah, I hope I do. It was really beefy. I kind of went about my notes, like I said, a little bit differently than normal, which is I was kind of really pinpointing areas that I was interested in. There is, I want to say the Blu-ray might have like a little bit more behind the scenes. I did find a 45-minute making of that showed some things, but boy, oh boy, did I have a lot of sources. So instead of kind of doing my like going through Wikipedia, pulling out, going in the sources, I kind of just like typed in things I was interested in and then read things accordingly. So
that's kind of the best when you could do that and there's actually resources on the other end to
That's the thing too. I feel like my last two movies I've had nothing and I was like, This is my longest source list. And I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
my God. When it rains, it pours, baby.
How incredible it is to have people talking about things and have references to things. So
Yeah.
it's wildly different from my last two, where I feel like I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel to get stuff. So we have a lot to go through as well. I might not answer everybody's questions, but I kind of tried. Trav is a huge fan of Phantom, so I was like, let me know what you want me to look up and let me see if I can find it. So I kind of tried to do that as well.
Love.
So I guess we just dive in.
Take us in. Lead us into the catacombs.
I have taglines as well. I feel like everyone probably knows them. They're nothing crazy or
nothing to write home about.
Not really. So I have her voice became his passion. Her love became his obsession. Her refusal became his rage. Which also is just the tagline for how domestic violence starts. And
oh my God. Yeah, that's really fucked up.
No,
I mean, I know this is a
sentence. And it should result in rage.
Oh my goodness.
Rage, and then he does go just like cry in the corner at the end.
It's true. Yeah.
And then
he's a forgiving Phantom in some ways.
Kind of. He has that really bad cry at the end.
He sure does.
Like, just forget everything. It's like, girl, not at this point. Can't forget.
You've gone too far, sir. We can't backtrack from here.
Bro. Much like yours, we do have a reference to the music. So another tagline is "Listen to the music of the night," which is, I think, everyone's like, or the most popular song. It sounds like,
for sure.
From others.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. A weird little tie into a very early episode. Remember my grandfather's haunted music box?
Yes, I do.
It plays music of the night. That's the song.
You have your own little Phantom. Which is
Yep, it is. Yeah, in so many ways.
Oh my gosh. That's actually wonderful, and it is very creepy, because that would be...
It's creepy.
That's like, a ghostly pick.
That was what started playing in the background when I was not expecting it while watching one of our horror movies at one point. And so it adds another layer to it. But
you all
going
to find that nugget of an episode.
I now do not remember when that happened, but
it was like episode 2.
Yeah, it was very early on. But just speaking to how popular that song is, like, yeah.
Even the ghosts love it, yeah.
Even the ghosts love it. Even the ghost of my grandpa loves it.
That's so funny. I was gonna say, I don't remember a lot from what we've talked about in the past, but I absolutely remember that conversation.
I'm so glad. It's gonna drive me crazy until I remember what episode that was, but
it's gonna come on tomorrow now too. He's gonna play it. So that's one of the taglines. We have the world's biggest musical, which I think is like whatever. And then we have a very long one. The waiting is over. ... Let the fantasy begin. Period. The classic musical comes to the big screen for the first time. Which is very student driven. Listen, they're not great. They're whatever. Moving right along. I kind of do director first, but obviously we have to kind of credit the writer first. So obviously it is been adapted a bunch of times. It's originally a 1910 Gothic horror novel, Phantom of the Opera, written by French writer Gaston Leroux. But of course, everyone knows this as Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical. And so he is a writer and a producer on this. So if you have been living under a rock, how do you describe Andrew Lloyd Webber? Won Tonys, Grammys, Golden Globes. He's a composer. He's composed 21 musicals, at least, I think. Phantom of the Opera debuted at Her Majesty's Theatre in 1986. So he's been doing this a while. And then also his version of the musical was inspired by the Ken Hill 1976 musical version by the same name. So it's kind of an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation.
Another similarity. Yep.
I know. I was like trying very hard not to do the thing where it's like, yep, same. So
would have been in that. Yep.
I hope you can nod to it now listening, and everyone listening can kind of hear it. So a little fun tidbit and nod to Andrew Lloyd Webber in the film is kind of like you said with the promotional materials. Obviously, Andrew Lloyd Webber did Cats. And so there's a little nod to that Broadway show in the masquerade scene that when it pans up the stairs, all the patrons kind of pose like the Cats
Oh my
promotional materials, and they
God.
both have one like that. So when you said that, I feel like I made a face, but I was like, I don't know where I put that in my notes. But
Oh,
so
that's
we get that little nod
wild.
too, which I think is really funny. So I don't have a side by side of that. I realize I should have, but
we can put it in a TikTok or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love
Oh
that
my
we both kind of
gosh.
had that.
That's wild. Well, and I guess also like the little dance that one of the guys does when like it goes into like a little solo voguing dance moment is a very Cats dance too.
Listen, Cats like it took over
Yeah.
the world at a certain point, so
Yeah.
it's just bled everywhere. Much like your phone. And
True.
of course, we have a co-writer and then our director, Joel Schumacher, which again, another huge name. So a lot of what I cover is I've talked about people's work prior to this because I think it'll give you a good idea of why they're involved in this. So prior to this, he did St. Elmo's Fire, The Lost Boys, put a pin in that. Batman Forever. I think then after, oh yeah, no, before this, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, and I didn't realize he was also one of the writers for The Wiz, which as a kid, I was like so obsessed with The Wiz,
Oh,
and I've
that's
not revisited
wild.
it in a while, but I didn't realize that, so had to throw that in.
Fascinating.
But Lost Boys, so Joel Schumacher basically got the gig right away, even though a bunch of other directors were kind of in the pipeline for it or wanted it really
Interested. Yeah,
bad.
I'm sure.
Yeah, working with Andrew Lloyd Webber, of course. But Andrew was really obsessed with Joel's use of music in The Lost Boys. And so he's like, if we're doing this, that is the man for the job.
Oh my
for
God, the
me.
parallels. Stop.
I know. And so
That's
like
wild.
Joel was like, I never thought I would get the job because he's like, I've never done musicals and I'm not like a musical person. I don't have anything. And he was like, but it would be really cool to work with them. So like, sure. But so as soon as he kind of showed interest, he was like, okay, great. And so they co-wrote it together. So normally I kind of jump into starring at this point, but I do want to talk about script and development a little bit, and then we'll put a pin in it and we will come back.
Cool.
So like I said, he's a co-writer on this. So the film rights were purchased originally by Warner Brothers in early 1989. And then their idea was to let Andrew Lloyd Webber have total artistic control. So of course he was like, much like yours, they was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do this. And it was made public at the time that this was gonna happen. So that's 1989. They announced it.
Oh boy, what
We know
happened?
what year it came out. So we'll talk about it a little bit. So as soon as Joel Schumacher was hired to direct, and they immediately started writing it together. And it was set to film at Pinewood Studios.
My gosh.
In 1990.
This is
with
wild.
a $25 million budget, and have two members of the original cast return. So they were going to have Michael Crawford, who played Phantom, and Sarah Brightman as Christine.
Yeah, and she's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I watched some performances of her, and she's also just like beautifully captivating, at least on the screen for recordings that I saw of her. So why didn't we get the film until 2004, like 14 years later? It was for two reasons, and it was both because of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Joel Schumacher. So first we have Andrew Lloyd Webber. He was going through a high-profile divorce at the time with Sarah Brightman. Which I didn't realize how. I think they were married for about 4 or 5 years, I think.
I mean, also he's gay, so like,
listen,
I don't know if he like wasn't out at that point or if it was like an open secret type of situation, but
I was gonna say I didn't look at that information. I'm like not super interested in like celebrity marriages and dating history. But they were going through that at the time. Obviously, these two people were she was gonna be starring in this film.
That's not ideal. Yeah.
So not ideal. They did stay friends afterwards, and they did collaborate on a lot of things. But obviously going through a high profile divorce at this time, it just drained the two of them. So he kind of like took a beat to finalize that. He finally finalized the divorce in 1990. So why didn't they jump right back into production?
Right.
Well, Schumacher, his career picked up at the time. And so he stayed booked and busy during this time. Between 1989 and then when they came back to film, I think he had 18 films in between that he did,
Holy moly.
which
Okay,
is
yeah. Busy.
insane. Which with some of the ones that I mentioned, so like Batman.
Yeah,
And
big stuff.
yeah. So allegedly, so during this time, obviously he stayed booked and busy. He considered jumping back into the film earlier, but I guess just again, like contracts with other films, they couldn't do it, so they had to kind of keep pushing it. So as a result, Phantom of the Opera kind of like sat in this development limbo with Warner Brothers in the 90s, and so was shelved for about 13 years. So put a pin in that. We will come back to it. We are going to jump into starring.
Excellent.
I wanted to split it up a little bit, but there's like
this is
so
great.
much to say.
Both of ours, again, like the development chunk takes up so much. Like,
yeah, there's a lot to say, and like as we move to like even production, I had to be very pinpointed in what in production I wanted to talk about because it's just endless.
There's just so much, yeah.
So starring, first to be cast right out the gate was our hot horror king, Patrick Wilson as Raoul.
Amazing.
I love this man.
That's kind of adorable that he was the first cast too.
Oh, very first. They announced it like right away once they kind of jumped back into this project. So he was announced in June of 2003.
Wow.
And they like as soon as Joel Schumacher was just like, I love this man. So he was immediately cast, immediately announced. And I would say for those of you who kind of know him from the horror realm, which is very much how I was introduced to him and what I know him from, I always forget that he has this really big musical background, and that's actually what he started doing. So, okay,
I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no idea.
He's a theater boy. Through and through.
I love that. Because I was about to ask, like, is it his real singing voice? I'm assuming yes, but...
Oh my God. Absolutely fully him, and it's the reason that he got cast. So, June of 2003, he was announced being cast, but in 2001 and 2002, he received Tony nominations and wins for his work in Oklahoma and The Full Monty. I know!
I had no idea!
Yeah, he's a Broadway boy, and so I feel like it's so crazy because he is so prolific as, like, a horror king to all of us, at least like on our side of things. Like Hard Candy was actually the first thing that I ever saw him in.
Oh my God, amazing.
Which is like a horrible, I always say it's a really horrible introduction because he's so
awful.
Yeah, he's so awful in that. But he
not like a bad performance, but like the character is
terrible. No. Too good of a performance.
Exactly.
Like it feels for a while.
Yeah, it's hard not to watch it and feel like, oh, is that just him? Like it's one of those, even though it's clearly not. Yeah.
His stare gets me. So yeah, he's a big Broadway boy, has Tony wins, so that is absolutely 100% his voice. He had also just had the lead role in HBO's 2003 miniseries Angels in America, where he played alongside Meryl Streep, Emma Thompson, and fucking Al Pacino.
So I forgot about that. Connection. I actually have the box set of Angels in America, and it slaps. It's really good. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, fucking Al Pacino.
He's every episode he pops up at least once.
Yeah, I said it instead of what is it? 1 Degree from Kevin Bacon. It's just like 1 Degree from
oh God. Trav says hooah.
Oh God. Oh my God, I don't have my notes or my chat up on the side. Sorry guys. You know what's funny is like I honestly can't name like an Al Pacino character.
I can name so many things he was almost in, and like then
that's the thing. Like, I know his like almost cast in lore because of horror, and that's about it. So
we really need to do Cruising soon because that's like the only one I can think of that he stars in that's a horror movie. The film bros are gonna riot. Yeah, listen, I love Cruising. I think it's one of Friedkin's best movies, and I love Friedkin, but I think
we just need to talk about Al Pacino. So I love that you don't know this about P. Wilson. What I think is interesting though too is this is basically his first film role as well. So he was plucked and kind of I feel like dumped into this world because then he like stays booked and busy on screen and I'm sure off screen. Since doing Phantom. So I think that's really cool.
I mean, yeah, when you have the face of Patrick Wilson.
Oh my God, he's so hot
As soon as Hollywood finds you, they're not gonna let you
Oh,
go.
absolutely not. I remember seeing this for the first time, not knowing, and I was like, "He's so hot. Is he the bad guy? He's so hot. I don't care if he's the bad guy. He's the good guy." So I was very relieved, but it's so hot. And I think it's really cute too. He kind of like talks about rehearsals and kind of didn't know how things were supposed to go because this is his first time doing something on screen, specifically a musical for screen. And so he got really nerdy. He was like, "Well, this is how I do it on Broadway, if that helps." So he was very like jazzed and geeked to kind of be part of something like this.
That. That's
He's so sweet.
adorable.
He also did all of his own stunts, including the bareback riding and all of the water scenes, the underwater scenes too.
Amazing.
And I tried to look out for it. You can kind of see it. So when he's underwater for a while, there are some reverse bubbles that kind of go in to make him seem like he's underwater. But yeah, he learned how to horseback ride. He was like, "Man, it's different like being on a saddle versus then you have to do bareback." But he was like, "I'm on set. I'm committing to this." And so every moment he's on screen or it's his back, it is him.
I love that.
Then we have Gerard Butler as Phantom, which I feel like is really the point of contention for people.
Yeah, and like rightly so, may I say.
Yeah, a lot of people note that this is an interesting choice, or some people outright say this is a horrible choice, considering how many fan casts there were. Also, like being fans of the Broadway play, you're going to get fan casts, and people are going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
So one of those people were Antonio Banderas, who had spent. I know.
Oh, that would have been so good.
I know. He spent several years in vocal preparation for this, and I don't know how he caught wind, but so he didn't get the role, but later he did play Phantom in Andrew Lloyd Webber, the Royal Albert Hall celebration in 1998. So
we were robbed.
Yeah, I know. I do love Gerard. I don't know any different, right? Like this is what I'm presented with.
Same. And like I heard the movie soundtrack before I ever heard like the Broadway cast recording. So like I was used to Gerard's Phantom before I heard it like quote unquote done right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you hear as we move through of like why, I hope people feel a little bit better about it. But I do understand that you're expecting something that is wildly different than what we got on screen. So obviously Antonio Banderas would have been a wildly amazing choice. We also have Hugh Jackman was up for the role. John Travolta was up for the role, which and Nicolas Cage was considered according to Playbill. So taking that source.
Okay, honestly,
can that man sing?
I don't care. I want to see.
I guess Gerard Butler can sing. But I know.
Wow.
I'm not a huge fan of Nicolas Cage's acting, so I don't know how I would have felt about it. But they specifically didn't want to attach anyone that kind of had expectations for the role. They really wanted to kind of cast someone that you wouldn't really assume. So how in the hell do we get Gerard Butler in the role of the Phantom? It was because director Joel Schumacher was impressed by his performance as Count Dracula in the film Dracula 2000, which I have not seen. I tried to watch clips. Wild film choice to reference. I know someone out there listening is a fan.
I'm sure. But like not Phantom of the Opera. Like they're very different.
So what Joel Schumacher, again, our director, said he was looking for was someone who had what he called raw and intense screen presence rather than someone specifically with a musical theater background. And he wanted someone a bit rock and roll, roughness, someone to really play opposite Patrick Wilson's Raoul is what he wanted, especially because he already had Patrick Wilson cast. He kind of wanted to have this, very Broadway boy with these beautiful vocals and like beauty, and then have someone as like, I mean, Gerard Butler is just like so like gruff to me. I know he's a little bit different like earlier years, but he just gives such like gruffness to him. So he wanted that juxtaposition, and he also wanted someone which he says would go, I get what Christine sees in him. I get it. He's the right side of danger, is what he said, which I think is so funny. And he is. He's really hot.
This is where I have to admit I've never gotten it. I don't
Gerard Butler?
Yeah, I don't
get
find
it in
him
this
hot.
only. I only get it in this.
Interesting.
It's because he's softer.
See, I am just like so like Emmy Rossum in this movie was like another like early queer awakening for me where it's just like how can a human being look that good?
I mean,
and so like next to her, like I had eyes for nobody. Like it was just Emmy Rossum for me.
I mean, Patrick Wilson is like where my eye goes, but I do find this to be the hottest Gerard Butler has been. Honestly.
I will agree with that. So, this is the closest to finding him hot that I've gotten. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really pretty. So this is Joel Schumacher's vision. Obviously, like him and Andrew Lloyd Webber, like really on the same path for everything. Yeah. So he gets it. He sees the vision. They're working towards this thing. Andrew Lloyd Webber also is really good about being like, I've done the stage play, the stage musical. We're doing a film.
Yeah,
I want to do the film. It's different. So very much like yours.
Like Sondheim. Yeah.
Yes. They have the vision. So I think it's funny. So in a retrospective interview, Gerard kind of is talking about having to audition. So we're going to kind of talk about his audition. It's amazing. And I feel horrible for him. So I have a quote from Gerard saying, I had never had a singing lesson before Phantom. I had never had a single singing lesson in my life. And in fact, they sent me the script, and I don't know why they sent me the script. And I called my agent and said, get me a voice coach because I don't even want to go meet Joel if I can't do this. I knew I was going to sing with this woman, so Emmy. And I thought, oh no, with the vocal coach, sorry. I know I was going to sing with this woman, and I thought, if she tells me I can't do it, then I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I'm not going to go sing in front of Andrew Lloyd Webber and make a fool of myself if I know I can't do it. So that's unlike Johnny Depp.
Very unlike Johnny Depp.
Time to make sure
there's some humility there that we don't have with Johnny. Yeah.
He openly admits like he was learning on the job. So yeah. He is told by the vocal coach he's got something there, whether anyone wants to believe it or not. And so he goes into his audition singing Music of the Night, which is the pinnacle song. And
that's a hard one to choose for your audition. Yeah.
I don't think he chose that. I think they chose that for him.
Oh, dear.
If I'm honest. I'm sure.
So this was not a Sacha Baron Cohen, I'm not going to sing the musical. I'm just going to come in and do a one-man show of a different
Absolutely. He's like, whatever you say, I bow down. So he's in this audition room, and it's Andrew Lloyd Webber, Joel Schumacher, and the conductor Simon Lee on piano playing. So he's singing his little heart out, and he says as he's singing, Simon on the piano kept taking these huge gasping breaths, literally like, oh no. And he's like, oh my God, Simon's having a panic attack. Why is he nervous? I'm the nervous one. I'm auditioning. It's because Simon was reminding Gerard to take breaths in the song.
My God.
Because again, he's only had a few singing lessons prior to this. So he says Joel's just in the corner, like arms crossed with a crinkled face, like looking at him, and he's like, oh my gosh. So eventually they kind of
scary.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. So eventually they kind of like break, or he stops, or the song's over. I don't know. And Andrew Lloyd Webber sat there with him for an hour and a half and actually broke down all the nuances in his voice. And Gerard actually doesn't take offense to this. He's just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there were that many things that you could talk about with my voice. So he was like fascinated by it and actually really appreciated it. And he's so funny. It was like, there's a video of him talking about it, and he's so like dramatic, but he's super humble talking about it, which I appreciate. So he spends an hour and a half with him. They do that. And so once he, I have a quote from him about when he was singing. He goes, quote, the enormity of what I was trying to do suddenly hit me. And then all of those vulnerable, insecure feelings go through your head like, you're not a singer. What do you think you're doing singing Music of the Night in front of Andrew Lloyd Webber? But I got the role, and I thought, you know what? I've got to trust myself. Which is so sweet.
That's all you can do. Yeah.
They want you. They believe in the vision. You just got to go with it from there. So, kind of moving on, and the opposite side of this, we get Emmy Rossum as Christine, Siena's first crush as a teen. I I saw her in Day After Tomorrow, which came out the same year as this.
Oh.
She bothered me for some reason, and I wanna say it might be one of the reasons I didn't see this when it came out.
That makes
I also
sense,
think
yeah.
I think all the theater kids were, like, hyping it up too much, and if someone tells me to watch something too many
Yeah.
times, I don't, and I hate that about
Especially if they're a
myself.
theater kid. I say as a theater kid. Like, you
Listen,
don't
I
trust a
get it.
theater
I
kid's
should've.
recommendations.
Ugh. This is the one I should have trusted, although I feel like
True.
I appreciate it a lot more now. So
It came to you at the right time.
It did. I'm like, I'm so obsessed. So, unlike Gerard, she is a classically trained singer. She performed with the Metropolitan Opera Children's Choir from ages 7 to 12 and then transitioned into on-screen roles. So that's where we get her in 1999's Disney Channel original movie, Genius, which is so good and everyone needs to watch it. And then she was in 2000's Songcatcher, 2003's Mystic River, which I completely forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
And
I forgot
then
about that too.
The Day After Tomorrow, which she did film before this film.
Okay.
Joel Schumacher specifically wanted someone super young for this role too, which yeah, she just turned 17 on this. She's kissing 30-year-old men. It is really, really, really hard for me to get past that, honestly.
I had no idea she was 17.
She's
like, you can tell she's very young, but like I assumed
she seems honestly 22. She's
I thought
think,
like 2021. Like, yeah.
She has a maturity to her, and like even looking at her, like, yes, she looks really, really young. She doesn't look 17-year-old young.
No, and she like has a poise to her that 17-year-olds usually don't have.
Yep. Nope. So wild. It's a little
yeah, that's gross.
It's a little icky.
Hardcore gross.
I understand. And yeah, by a little icky, there's like I tried to get interviews, seeing if Gerard or Patrick Wilson said anything to be like, yeah, it was awkward, but we were professional, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, Emmy Rossum's like, yeah, Patrick, don't you remember that one day that we were like kissing and like my lips were so chapped the whole day? And I'm just like, no, everybody stop. This is not funny. Why are we doing this?
This isn't fun. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so nobody look up. I didn't see anything on it. It's just her being like a teenager and yeah.
That's not on her. That's on everybody else.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they wanted somebody really young. Do I think they could have cast somebody that was 18?
Yeah.
Or waited or something.
Do I also think they could have cast then like a Phantom who's like a little bit closer to her age? Yeah, but
yeah, I think he was like 34 when they did this too. I think Patrick Wilson was younger, but yeah,
like more than twice her age. That's disgusting.
I don't even want to like I don't even want to think about it. So anyways, they unfortunately they did want someone specifically really, really young. Joel Schumacher said because he felt that the story, there's an innocence, specifically with Christine's character. I'm saying what he said, I'm not saying I agree with this. And so he said that it wouldn't have been the same if they were what he quotes as middle-aged people. That wasn't the story. And I was like, middle-aged? Middle-aged is like 50, my guy. Yeah. Not like 30-year-olds.
Yeah, are we calling the like
Patrick Wilson
middle-aged? That's insane.
Yeah. So I'm over the hill, Siena. Put me in a home.
Yeah, we're both middle-aged by those standards.
Yeah. So anyways, this is his words, not mine. He really wanted someone young, and Andrew Weber was like, I trust your vision. Sure. Anyway, so moving on, they talked about finding her, and they called it kind of like just luck. And that she came in kind of at the last second. So they had auditioned a bunch of people. But she almost lost the opportunity just as quickly because she almost missed her screen test. Which I know, the screen tests look amazing. It was like full hair and makeup, full sets. They're really, really cool. So if you can find clips of them, they kind of like exist in different pockets, but they like went hard with their screen tests. And so she almost missed her screen test. Why? Her mom didn't want her to miss her family reunion, but apparently Joel Schumacher was able to convince her to leave early so she had to fly to do the screen test. And so I have a quote from Emmy talking about this. She said, I met director Joel Schumacher on Wednesday in Los Angeles, and we had a screen test on Saturday. It happened so alarmingly quickly that I just had plans to connect at this family gathering that weekend. I told him I couldn't make it to the screen test. I assumed it wasn't going to be the only screen test because I didn't know that they had been casting for 6 months and I was the last person they saw.
Oh
So
my
she thought,
God.
hell, I'll catch the next one.
Yeah.
And so I figured it was when she kind of figured out that she was the last, she was like, it was my only shot. So she was like, my family will forgive me for this.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that and she's like, again, 16 years old.
God, that's insane.
And she'd been acting, in a few films before this. So almost didn't get it because of a family reunion.
Wow.
But there were some other people who obviously wanted this role as well.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Some I couldn't confirm, so I did only write down the couple that I could find sources to confirm. So we have Katie Holmes. I don't know if she can sing. Kate Winslet and Keira Knightley. So we have a Pirates of the Caribbean fame. But
can any of them sing?
Well, no, because Keira Knightley calls it in interviews the singular most embarrassing experience of her entire life.
Oh
saying,
my God.
quote, I absolutely knew I couldn't sing, but I went in and they were like, no, anybody can sing. Just try it out. And so she sang and the guy went, you really can't sing, can you? And she's like mortified by it.
Oh my God. How bad did it have to be if that wasn't the reaction that Gerard Butler got? Like,
I'm like, does anyone have any, like, has she even like mildly sang in an interview? I feel like she's never sang since.
Oh God!
That just ruined it for her. She's like, I don't even sing in the shower anymore.
She's sworn off of all music after that point.
Poor girl. We also have another actress who was basically neck and neck with Emmy and didn't get it because she had contractual obligations to another film. And that actress was...
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Is it Anne Hathaway?
It is Anne Hathaway. Yes! Which, again, people forget, she is also a theater kid as well. So she studied at Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey and became the first and only teen accepted into the Barrow Group's acting program when she was younger, which is awesome.
Impressive.
Before Phantom, she had already appeared on stage in the encore concert revival of Carnival. And both her and Emmy Rossum were up for the same role, so they were neck and neck. But it was Princess Diaries 2.
Yep,
Princess Diaries 2, which went straight to video.
No! Oh my gosh.
If it was Princess Diaries, I'd kind of get it. Because that really put her on the map.
But Princess Diaries 2? Girl, you choose Phantom.
It was the contract. Honestly, I don't think any of them wanted to be
I don't think that was her choice.
We get Chris Pine in that one, but like...
True. But apart from that, what else do we get? Yeah.
Honorable mentions, because I just don't want to spend too much time on there's like so many cast members. Obviously we have Minnie Driver as Carlotta, so we will get to her a little bit later, but I kind of want to move on. So pull the pin out of the budget, out of the rest of the script. So our film is now sitting here 13 years later.
Oh God.
And Joel and Andrew were finally at a place to pick up the film back up and complete their project together. And so what happened with this? It's 13 years, all this stuff has happened. Joel has done a bunch of films. Andrew's kind of just like, great, I'll wait. We're doing this thing together. So because it sat for so long, Warner Brothers kind of like, they didn't really want Warner Brothers to have it anymore. So Andrew bought the film rights back from Warner Brothers in January 2003 for $6 million and decided to produce it independently because he was worried that Warner Brothers weren't gonna give him control like they had originally promised. So he was like, let me just buy this. I know what I want to do with it. Yeah. You guys are going to be weird. So
if you've got the $6 million sitting around, you might as well. Yeah.
I actually feel like $6 million is not that horrible.
For Phantom of the Opera, yeah. For a property that's that famous.
And I'm like, it's his too.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah. I hope they like gave him a discount based on that. Yeah.
So he did it through his company called Really Useful Group, which was founded in 97. And then I think it's now still called LW Entertainment. I'm not sure if it's still called that. So they did developments for Cats, Jesus Christ Superstar, Evita, Sunset Boulevard, and a bunch of other things. And Andrew Lloyd Webber said in an interview that he was, quote, thrilled to have the rights back for the film of Phantom and to have such a brilliant director on board. We now have the opportunity and the freedom to make the film that Joel and I have always talked about making. So I love that the two of them just were going to work together no matter what.
That's cute.
So obviously back in 1990, the budget was $25 million and it went out over time. Do you want to take a kind of, I have like a rough estimate.
Well, and I know you said that ours were around the same area, but they could be a little more, so like 55?
That's what I'm guessing from it, because they had also an additional 15 million for marketing.
Oh my
So
God,
I think it's
yeah.
about 70 million is what it ended up being total.
Yeah, that kind of, it makes sense for what it is though, especially like yours is, it's set in a richer, like a wealthier environment than mine. Like the opera house itself is fancy and expensive, whereas like Mrs. Lovett's pie shop is not.
Also, you were talking to, like, you have a lot of close-ups with yours, and as we get into it, you'll understand where a lot of the money goes in this one
I mean, yours
as
also
well.
like has choruses doing chorus stuff, which is much more expensive.
Yeah, the masquerade scene, like just the costuming alone.
That must have been so expensive to shoot.
Oh
That
my
whole
gosh.
fucking sequence. Yeah.
I know. I love every single frame. Like some of the costumes I feel like you only see for a little bit. So we will touch on that, but I do it's robust in every single aspect. And everyone did talk about too, like each department had said they felt like they had a really nice budget to work with. So no one really felt limited, which
That's awesome.
it's nice to hear that from a couple different departments. So yeah, roughly 70 million. I've seen people go up to 80, but I just don't know where the extra money is
That's
coming
hard
from.
to picture. Yeah.
And so, like I said, it was filming at Pinewood Studios, so they used 8 sound stages and an exterior.
Oh
Yeah,
my
they like
God.
took over.
Wow. Yeah, they
Fully took
shot
over.
like all of Pinewood basically.
Yeah,
I don't
they
know
were
how
like,
many
"This is
sound stages
ours."
it has actually, but like that sounds like
I
a
don't know.
big chunk of it. Yeah.
Most, if not all, I'm assuming. And so all the film sets were constructed in about 3 months with around 200 people working on everything, and they filmed for a total of 17 weeks,
Wow.
which pretty robust. Um Again, I found some kind of different timelines on that, but that's roughly what I heard. That's what the behind the scenes making of said as well. They started filming on September 15th, 2003, which is my birthday. Not the 2003 part, but the September 15th part.
Right.
And they ended around January 15th through 23rd in 2004. So, and they also, I thought was really interesting. I couldn't find anything on it. The stages with all the water, they like flooded it with millions of gallons of water. They built like a little track for the boat. So I'm like, it had to have been like full on Disneyland down there
That
to do
that
those
looks like it
underground
was
scenes.
so much fun to shoot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they had some points too where like the boat stopped moving. They would have to go and like fix it. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't imagine the stress of having such big sets and then like something goes wrong. So kind of leading the on-screen design, we have art director Anthony Pratt. He also goes by Tony Pratt, but I'm going to call him Anthony because we're not besties like everyone talking about him. Who prior to this did 1981's fantasy film Excalibur, which
Oh,
I have not seen. It's on my watch
interesting.
list. So
Same. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
yeah, it's on my like fantasy tab of things to watch. He also did 1985's Return to Oz, the holiday classic, The Santa Claus,
Oh my
and
gosh.
in 1991, he did The Addams Family and Hook,
Oh, that's
which if you're a
cool.
fan of Hook, the
Yes,
design makes
absolutely.
so much sense for this. So he is once again in my
That's impressive.
childhood.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, that is like truly one of like I wish we could go back to movies that spend so much time on practical sets, and Hook is truly like
If
an
it feels
example of
so
just
it feels so lived in. Like it feels so like fleshed out.
Yeah, and all the like backstage of the theater in this film too. It's just like you can just see when they pan down, everything was fully built out. It's amazing. He worked really closely with set decorator Cecilia Bobak, who has since worked on The Martian, which I think is funny you brought that up,
Oh, yeah, look at that.
and The
Another
Crown.
crossover.
Yeah. I was like, where does that fall? And so they kind of like they worked together to um work with the lead sculptors, and they brought a lot of the UK crew and the crew from the original stage show of the Phantom to work with them on this. So
Cool.
they already knew what they were doing. And when it came to the look and feel, Anthony said he personally was influenced by French architect Charles Garnier, who was the designer of the original opera house in Paris. So obviously,
That makes sense.
he
Yep.
says, yeah, he says, quote, I was very influenced by the strangeness of the original story, the idea of this girl who thinks her dead father's calling to her, slightly stuffy Victorian claustrophobia, that sort of environment. And goes on to say the word Joel used to describe was sexy. And so
I mean,
Andrew
yeah.
Pratt, yeah. And so they kind of like took off from that. And that was kind of a word that gets tossed around a lot, is making everything not only historically accurate and kind of like fantastical, but also sexy. So that's what we
I
get.
feel like, yeah, these are the two sides of the coin of like both of ours are like take place in a similar point in like the Victorian era, but mine is like the slasher version and yours is the sexy version.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
from costumes to the
every level.
sculptures
Yeah.
we get, yeah, it's really
I
so
mean, there's a
fucking
fucking
beautiful.
swan bed in there. Like yeah.
If I had the money, the
Oh, I know.
way my
In a
house would look,
heartbeat. In a
gosh,
heartbeat.
I wish I was more crafty to do that. So yeah, sexy was the word and everybody took
Mm-hmm.
it. From the beginning, they obviously said they didn't want to seem too real when it came to the set design. So that's kind of where we get this over exaggerated world. So we have Andrew Pratt also referring to paintings by Edgar Degas. So
Is
that's
this
what,
do I
yes,
get
which,
my first photos?
yes. So
Excellent.
if Edgar Degas sounds, and I'm very butchering his name, I'm so sorry. Um, he
Yeah.
did a lot of paintings in Paris opera,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a lot of like ballet portraits. So
Yeah.
I feel like if when you look him up, or as you're looking at these photos now, Sienna,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone's kind of seen his work done
Yeah.
before.
There's a couple that are very, very famous.
Yeah, so the first one you're looking at is called Dinner at the Ball, and I think that was
Uh,
probably a really big reference for
for the
them.
masquerade, especially.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
tried to find some other, I don't know, I was getting a lot of like, here's this thing on Amazon, here's this thing on
Yeah.
Wayfair, and I was like,
That sounds
why can I not weed through all this fucking bullshit right now? And I got really frustrated and I just stopped and I
no.
was like, everyone could go pick up an art history book or go to
Yeah,
the library
absolutely.
and look
It's
him
not
up.
hard to find info on him.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
those are the photos you have. That's a lot of references for, like, costuming, especially
Love.
Masquerade, and, some of
Mm-hmm.
those backstage scenes we get, they kind of referenced to that. We
The
also have,
lighting too, I feel like is very similar.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people, there was a lot of, like, art history references in this and references
Mm.
directly. So, another one we have, as you scroll, I don't know if I gave them to you in order, I'm so sorry,
No, no worries.
is the 1946 The Beauty and the Beast, Jean Cocteau's version
I
of Beauty
wrote
and the
down a note
Beast.
about this as we were watching
Yes!
because I had not seen that when I first watched this movie, and obviously I have since. And I was like, oh my God, that's the hallway. They did a Beauty and the
Yeah.
Beast hallway.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
spend, like, a lot of time in that hallway, and it's so fun. So those
Mm-hmm.
ones, I actually haven't seen the Jean Cocteau Beauty and the Beast. Oh,
It's
sorry.
so good. I think you'd actually really like it.
I know, I've just seen
Yeah.
clips of it, so I don't know how often we're in that hall, but I feel like, for those of you listening, or if you don't know what we're talking about, there are arms coming out from the wall holding
Mm-hmm.
candelabras. So not only do we get that in Beauty and the Beast, but obviously that, where the Phantom is leading her down the hallway. We
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot of time in that hallway as they walk down as they're singing, and it's a direct reference that Joel wanted to make. So that was
That's
kind of
so
his
cool.
little idea, and it's so good.
Love. That's very satisfying.
It's so satisfying. And it's just like they're exactly the same, which I
Mm-hmm.
love.
Yeah. Copy paste.
Um, yeah, copy paste. So moving on to, this is where I'm starting to get like, I'm very like picking and choosing what I want to talk about production-wise. So, chandelier.
Yes.
Gotta talk about it. That was a big thing. Yeah.
It kicks off the whole story.
It kicks off the whole story. I know that I'm assuming in every version of the like the musical, when you go see it on stage, has the swinging one. Am I correct
I would
in that or
imagine.
no?
I haven't seen it in a theater before, but that's to my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
That
I don't
makes
know,
sense.
but it seems really cool, and I've seen videos from that, and I'm like very upset that I can't see that. So we have to spend some time on the chandelier. So it was, in fact, a huge, larger than life chandelier, as it should be. We get different versions of it though, but the main one that we get was obviously designed to look like a realistic 19th century fixture and was provided by Swarovski for the film, which is why we get their store, I think, makes an appearance in there.
Oh, I missed that. But that,
I think there's like,
makes a lot of
sense. I forget what they are. I don't know if they have the name out there, and I forget which scene it is, but it's from Swarovski. It's the main chandelier is 40 feet long. So beefy boy.
Oh my God.
6,000 crystals, 2.2 tons, and costs about $1.3 million of that budget.
Christ. Oh my
God. Yeah. So the shots where they actually did use it. Yeah, it's a beefy boy. So in the shots that they did use the full-size one, it took a full week to shoot the chandelier swinging scene with the full-size model, and then they only had one take to really get that one specifically. But we have other chandeliers that they used as well.
That makes sense, yeah.
We had
I imagine there's probably a miniature version of it.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a section on miniatures. We also have just like a stunt double chandelier for riskier scenes, a miniature version, and then a third version that was equipped with electricity and lighting for the opening scene. So we get a few different versions. And because of the size of the chandelier, no studio, so Pinewood Studios, wasn't large enough to accommodate kind of the falling chandelier required. So that's why they had to work with Asylum VFX to kind of composite things together.
That makes sense.
And and there's a lot of that in this film. There's a lot of miniature work, as we'll talk about, with VFX, with practical sets, and boy, they're all working together.
That's so satisfying.
It's super seamless in this one too. Like, even watching the chandelier swinging, I was trying to point out like which versions what in this, and it was really hard for me without having to like fully stop and do it frame by frame.
I love that. That's so fun.
I already said miniatures. And then we have Cinesite UK, who provided the bulk of the visual effects, which we'll talk about. So they did like tracking camera moves, compositing with the miniatures. They're the studio behind a lot of the Harry Potter films, Marvel movies like Avengers Endgame. So
we've got a lot of practice.
Yeah. And then David Jones who supervised their work there in the UK, while senior visual effects supervisor Nathan McGuinness, the owner of Asylum, was in Santa Monica. So they were doing a lot of talking back and forth, and collectively between the two of them completed more than 150 shots for the film, including the opening sequence where we get that postcard coming to life.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. So working with them, we have miniatures, and we have our model supervisor, Jose Granell, who worked closely with designer Anthony Pratt, who we talked about earlier, production designer, to do all the miniatures for the film. Jose has also an awesome career. He started off, his very first film, at least on IMDb, is 1984's Supergirl, and then directly did 1989's Batman with Tim Burton.
Amazing. Another little crossover point.
Yes.
Yeah.
He also did one of my favorite movies of all time, and I cannot tell you how many times I've watched it, A Knight's Tale. Which is so good.
Dana also adores this movie. She showed it to me for the first time a couple months ago. Yep.
She should.
I really liked it.
A Knight's Tale is perfect, and especially like that was one of those DVDs that I think I fell asleep to the menu to all the time.
She is going to be so validated to hear this.
Oh my God, no, Dana, she is correct. It is a perfect movie, and if you haven't seen it or it's been a while, please, everyone,
you're wrong. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, go to hell. I don't know what to say. It's a perfect movie, and I wish we had more kind of period pieces with modern music in the way that that one does it in particular. He also worked on Harry Potter films as well. And I hate when IMDb does this, but he's additional crew in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So he's still
possibly an
working on cool
advisor,
stuff.
maybe. Yeah,
I hate when they
something
say
like
additional
that.
crew, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
because it gives you no info about what that means, but
nothing.
yeah.
Nothing. So, all the miniatures, I don't know if they were constructed, but they were definitely filmed at Shepperton Studios in the UK, which is part of Pinewood Studios now. I forget when that kind of made the transfer. And then most of the models were built at a 1/12 scale.
Cool.
So they were still
That's
pretty big from what I see,
that's
but
not that small.
they had smaller ones, but yeah, most of them were to that scale.
Cool.
Jose said that most audiences should fail to notice the miniature work. That's obviously always the goal. And he said, quote, "I know the shots inside and out. Even looking at them yourself and it's your own work, you wouldn't really know. The things suggest, like the visual effects, to the industry, your peers look at a shot and they see the camera move is vast, so they know it's probably not for real, something's going on." So he was like, if I'm doing my job right, no one's going to notice, even industry people. He also noted that the challenge in building the miniatures was the insane amount of detail that they had to have on them. So he mentions like every little crack and molding, all the architectural detail that he had to add, so you don't really see the difference. And then having to do all the deterioration of like the opera house as well.
Yeah, that's tough.
So they did go back. They used the same one, which I'm like, oh my God, you better hope that you got everything. They used the same miniature of the opera house and then deteriorated it.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Like,
yeah, you got to make sure that you've got all the coverage you need. Yeah.
And I have another quote from him kind of talking about how the seamless integration of the shots is to mimic what the first unit is doing. You hope you're able to create moves and to light the way that's totally sympathetic to the main unit director and the cinematographer, so you're not going off on a tangent and start creating your own version.
Yeah.
Ideally, people shouldn't notice your signature on the shot. At least that's how I like to work. So where do we see some of this miniature work at play in the film? Again, I was like, I feel like I was like holding my eyes open like Alex in Clockwork Orange in a theater. So obviously, like I said, the opera house. So they did build real sets. So we do get the front of the opera house and the little square. So we get the entrance. And then miniatures were actually built to extend past the columns. And so a lot of times when you see like the reverse shots, it's either a mix of matte painted backgrounds and miniatures. So anything kind of outside, and there are videos that show this, which I think
that's
is
really cool.
It's easy to say it, but then you really have to sit there and look at it. So that's where we get some miniatures, is kind of the front extensions of the opera house. We also have the dramatic like pullback shot. So when Raoul and Christine are on the roof and then the phantom's like in between the little angel wings at the end, when he like after they leave and he crumples the rose and he climbs up there. He's obviously on a like practical set, but when it pulls back, that's all miniatures.
Oh gosh, and that's so hard to do when it's like a transition within a shot too.
The VFX people sounded like they had a time trying to
really impressive.
Make things match up from that. So that's a scene of miniatures that we get, and then also, like I said, the chandelier. So that going from its damaged state 2, we get it in its glory, and we get it damaged, and I think we get it on fire as well. I believe.
Think so. That sounds right. I'm gonna say yes.
And then, so who's responsible for capturing all of this on film? We have our cinematographer, John Matheson. He comes from he comes from a music video background as well. So we talk about this a lot. He did Susie and the Banshees, Paul McCartney, a lot of Madonna, as we do on this one. I feel like the pipeline from Madonna music video to horror is like a straight line.
It's so funny.
Yeah. I also have, I forget who you have. He also did Gladiator and Gladiator 2.
Oh, my screenwriter, I think, worked on
okay.
Gladiator. Yeah.
Yeah, so he did Gladiator 2, Jurassic World Rebirth. He also did 2001's Hannibal and X-Men First Class. And in pre-production, he worked really closely with Jose and then the director of the model unit director of photography, Nigel Stone. So they had their own kind of two cinematographers in this world kind of helping direct things. And they kind of worked together on how to combine these real shots on set with how they were shooting things on the miniature sets, because they're kind of at different studios, remember, at this time.
God, yeah.
Which sounds like chaos.
That's a nightmare. Yeah.
And so they had to figure out how to shoot these. They said, like, the dailies would come in, the teams would study the footage, the lighting, the placement, the key lights, practical lights, everything. So, like, from windows to lamps, they were looking at where all these light sources were coming in. And so these shots were also not on the miniatures, but actually on the production were done on cranes, which made it hard because they couldn't follow the same tracking shots.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So they were just kind of guessing. And for those of you who don't know, like, you can kind of like encode, I don't know, not cranes, but you can encode and kind of have, like, nowadays you could just match the movements with the cameras and it would just be all right there, and you can do it over and over and over to match.
There are ways to do it computerized now. Yeah.
So they did not do that. And so they would basically have to just guess.
We did this on the miniatures work on my movie, actually, and it was a nightmare. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, it's like you think you know, but there's so much nuance.
And it's also like, because the move happens on such a different scale, like you have to move so much slower to mimic like a fast move on a larger scale. Like it's so hard.
Oh, God,
it's so hard. Yeah.
Even
hats off to them. That's really impressive.
Yeah. So the VFX team was kind of just like, I feel like, patching these two worlds together. So I think everyone really fired on all cylinders just to make it as seamless as it ended up looking. Moving on to wardrobe, we have costume designer Alexandra Byrne. She has
amazing work, obviously.
Oh my God, so good. She's won a bunch of awards for her work, including BAFTA TV Awards specifically, and a Tony Award. And she is really well known for a lot of her period piece work, obviously. She did 1996's Hamlet, 2004's Finding Neverland, so Johnny Depp. 2007's Elizabeth the Golden Age, and then Disney kind of snatched her up, it looks like, midway through her career, and she did a lot of Marvel movies. So she did 2011's Thor, The Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and it looks like she tapered off from Marvel and Disney from that, but she was really there from, like, the start of everything. She created around 300 original costumes for the principal characters alone, and over 2,000 for all the theater patrons and masquerade performers.
That's incredible.
It's a lot. I mean, just the masquerade.
It's
Siena
gorgeous.
alone. So many good costumes in that, and they're like you said, they look like lived in, and they're all so perfectly unique. And some of them only get the spotlight for like a moment. I think there's these two characters that look like playing cards. You see them in like a passing shot, and they're gorgeous, and then you never see them again. The entire fucking performance of that song.
I love those kinds of little, like, blink and you miss it creative moments.
I need to pause frame by frame in that one, and then just like pick out my favorite costumes and see if there's like I need a coffee table book of that scene alone.
I feel like there's gotta be a coffee table book of this movie, right? Somewhere?
No, I haven't looked. I wish.
We'll look into that later. Yeah.
Somebody, hello.
If anybody's looking for gifts for Al.
Oh my God, no. Someone just send me the link, please.
Yeah.
I will gift it to myself immediately. So obviously she did a lot of endless research with historical time period pieces, and she also visited Paris and the Opera House, of course, to kind of like absorb the world that this was all supposed to be living in. She said she created a mood board, which I know me and you love a mood board. And she kind of would like add references up on there.
Cool.
And then said she kind of shared that with Andrew Pratt and Joel Schumacher as well, just to be like, am I headed in the right direction? And she actually said that working with Joel Schumacher was really amazing because not only was he receptive to her ideas, but I did not realize that before he had a movie career, he was a fashion designer. So he actually went to Parsons School of Design.
Oh my gosh,
to
that's
become,
so cool.
which kind of makes sense when you see him.
It does,
he has like this
actually.
cunty little air about him that feels very like, I'm a designer and you should all know this about me.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so they have like a shorthand talking to each other, which I think is really cool. And I want to say he started his career more as like costume design, but I don't know where that tapered off. And I was trying to find more information, but I did not dive in.
But it makes sense that would be a part of his background.
Yeah. Again, he like, I don't know what to say. Like some people just look like fashion designers and he's one of those people.
Yep.
I am going to have you pull up another photo. So it's going to be a side by side.
Okay.
And for those of you listening, we are going to be talking about Christine's white dress when she has that performance. And which is like,
it's one of the best costumes in the movie.
People really like to pick this one apart online.
Really? Why?
People don't like her skirt, and I don't understand it. Anyways, at least the side of the internet that I was on. So,
that's so interesting.
Christine, I think it's beautiful. So it's Christine in her white dress with those stars in her hair, and she's so beautiful on stage singing. So it is a pretty much exact replica of the outfit Empress Elizabeth of Austria, also known as Sissy, I think if that's how you pronounce it, which is her most famous portrait from 1865 by Franz Xavier Winterhalter is his full name.
Amazing.
And it was a choice by costume designer Alexandra to kind of mirror how Empress Elizabeth was celebrated for her appearance while often feeling trapped by that same role. And so obviously with Christine being an object of beauty and that's like her big moment too, or like the first of her big moments in there. So I just want to show that because it is to a T the same. So I would say you don't even need to look up the painting. It looks exactly like Emmy Rossum.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really cool. Moving on to a little bit of, now I feel like you where I'm like, oh my God, I have so much more left to say.
I know.
I have so much more left to say and I'm already I've been out of breath this entire time. So, hair and makeup, I kind of wanted to touch specifically on the Phantom's design, as Gerard Butler's Phantom is, I guess, relatively tame interpretation compared to some other versions.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves about the movie is that you can, where the scarring is on his face changes. Like when he's wearing the mask, you see that the part of his face just beneath the mask is not scarred. And then when he takes the mask off, that whole half of his face is scarred. And I'm like, so show me some scar!
I'm also like still gagged by the snatch of the wig and it's just one unit. It's like, it's the equivalent of like a hat with the hair in it, you know? I have feelings about it too, because I'm also like, he's super hot. But anyways, it was supposed to be tame, which is kind of why we get that version.
Yeah.
And it's why I think, to your point too, we see it in certain places, and obviously when we're supposed to have this big reaction to it, it's a little bit more than it was with the mask on, because that mask does not cover a lot of his face.
Right.
It was makeup artist Jenny Shearcore who did the makeup design. So she worked on the prosthetics for the film. She also did 1993's The Secret Garden, 1998's Elizabeth, 1999's Notting Hill, and 2017's Beauty and the Beast. So she's kind of lived in this fantasy realm for most of her career. And in adaptations prior to Andrew Lloyd Webber's, if you're like me, didn't really know this, obviously most of his face is typically covered by the mask. And you can see that in the 1925 silent film and 43, and I believe the stage plays up until we get to Andrew Lloyd Webber as well.
Mm-hmm.
We see most of the covering.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of speaking of his facial prosthetics, it's really cool. They do have a little like sped up version of him getting the prosthetics.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
in order to do his kind of eye as well, they had like a
Mm-hmm.
little string attached to it that went under the prosthetic. And so you can see the little tail hanging out and they would tuck it back. And so that's how it pulled his eye down.
That's
And so
really cool.
I know, I was like, it's so genius and simple, and the way my eye would dry
Oh,
out
yeah. That would be
so
so
horribly.
distracting as an actor. I can only imagine.
Um, but they would like pull on it sometimes just to like play pranks with people on the set, which I think,
Oh my
but there
God.
is a video of him getting it done, which I think is really interesting. I love the idea of kind of having that underneath the latex at the
That's really
time.
cool.
And then I think this is your final photo, which again, everyone can use their imaginations listening.
Mm-hmm.
We know what the white mask looks like. Put it
Mm-hmm.
over more of the face than half, and then you got the photo that I'm sending Siena. So,
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
the infamous half mask design
Yes. That's
that
like Lloyd Webber specific, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't realize this. So, it wasn't until Andrew Lloyd Webber's stage version, and it was stage director Harold Prince who actually realized how challenging it would be
Oh.
for the actor on stage to convey the full range of emotions of the
Mm-hmm.
character, especially when you're saying like you're painting for the back of the room, right?
Yeah.
So anyone
Yeah.
who's been to theater, done theater, you were very heavy-handed with your makeup. So obviously having this mask cover your full face isn't
Yeah.
gonna work. Not only is it not gonna work for emotions, but trying to sing with a mask over your face would limit you
Hard.
a little bit.
Very hard. Yeah.
So, what's the solution? A half mask, obviously. And it was actually created by the theater designer Maria Bjornsson,
Ooh.
who likes to thank her assistant, Jonathan Allen, who gave her the inspiration for the design. So she talks in a Q&A saying, my assistant reminded, so they obviously knew they had this problem. And so she
Mm-hmm.
said, my assistant reminded me of the half mask I wore to a fancy costume ball given by Sarah Brightman and
Oh my
Andrew Lloyd
gosh.
Webber. And which
Stop.
I think is like so full circle. And she
Yeah.
said this enabled the actor to have facial contact with the audience. It also she looked at World War One victims who had parts of their faces
Mm-hmm.
remodeled in China and then painted with a glass eye to blend with their own faces. So she kind of blended these two things together, and that's kind of where we get
Mm.
the infamous half mask that we see in the stage play and then obviously in this film as well,
That
which I thought was really
World War
cool.
One connection makes a lot of sense, and I hadn't quite been able to place that before. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I was gonna say we've like talked before, like I love medical history. I follow
Oh
like a
yeah,
few
absolutely.
creators online, and as soon as she said that, I was like, "Yep, that's exactly what my brain was going to the whole time."
Mm-hmm. Ugh,
Do, do, do,
love.
do, do. So that's where we get that. Oh, and of course they also say too, they love that it like was a double luck that it also is kind of this metaphor for his two conflicting
Mm-hmm.
personalities that he has as
Works on
well.
a couple levels, yeah.
It works on a couple levels. Moving on to music. Again, I don't have a ton. I know you said you had a orchestra of around 78.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So same with this one. Apparently it was a
Mm-hmm.
105 piece
Oh my
London Symphony
God.
Orchestra. And I think
Jesus.
the stage play had like 35.
Yeah, that's
So
probably, yeah, I think Sweeney Todd had like 20 something. So
God.
similar scaling up. But I guess it also makes sense for yours because there's like an organ going on, there's like a rock guitar, like there's a lot of stuff that's
Yeah.
not in a
Yeah. Yeah.
regular orchestra, whereas like Sweetie Todd is all pretty like standard instruments.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like my brain thinks 105 sounds right, because I don't
Yeah.
fucking know. But then you hear in comparison 35 and you're like, "Holy fucking shit."
That's
That's a lot of people.
huge. Yeah.
A lot of people. So,
God.
like I said, it was the London Symphony Orchestra. They were founded in 1904, which I thought is really cool, and they're London's oldest symphony orchestra.
Oh,
History
very
fact.
cool.
And this is where we're going to talk about Minnie Driver for just a second.
A mini corner.
A mini corner, and it's so sad, and I'm so sorry for her. So she is the only person, I think, in this entire production whose singing voice is not her own.
Aww.
And it's not because she couldn't sing. Apparently she could sing, but she couldn't sing opera, which was what was really needed for the role. So she was dubbed with I don't know if it was her singing coach, but it was a singing coach. She doesn't have any other film credits. I don't know what other credits she has, but her name's Margaret Priest. And so she was a singing teacher from the UK. But we do hear Minnie Driver at the end. She is singing the end credits song that we hear, Learn to Be Lonely, which
okay.
I'm
glad she gets in there somewhere, but like, come on.
I feel bad because in the couple interviews I've seen with her, she says this like kind of like throwaway thing of like, I wish I could have sang more in it. And I'm just like, oh baby, at least you're like, I'm glad you still did it, even knowing that you weren't going to be able to sing. And I think if you hear that end credit song, I do get why she did not.
It's a very different vocal style. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do get to hear her at the end. And that song was written specifically for the film by Andrew Lloyd Webber and came from the song No One Would Listen, which was sung by the Phantom. It was not a song featured in the stage play, but they wrote it for the film. They recorded it. They filmed it with Gerard Butler. But they felt like the tone and the pacing of that song didn't fit. And so
interesting. After they created it from scratch. That's wild.
So they took it out, and I guess you can hear little snippets of the melody throughout the film, and then we do hear snippets of that melody in the Learn to Be Lonely song at the end too. So they kind of like half recycled it sounds like. And then we're rounding the corner. I know, I'm like, oh my god, these are so beefy, and I don't even want to know how long I've been talking for. So a little bit different than yours. Oh god, hour 15. So they didn't pre-record their vocals in a traditional sense.
Oh, whoa.
Like they would do for this, which I think is really, really weird. It's because kind of like yours, they were on this really kind of like tight rehearsal schedule from rehearsals to shooting. So we have music producer Nigel Wright, who talked about this. He did Cats and Evita with Webber. And so he said normally like we would do rehearsals and then we would record and then we go on to set, but they didn't have time. And so he was like, okay, cool. So what ended up happening, which he kind of said was a happy accident, is because they didn't have time to do it in traditional sense. What would happen is they'd go on set, the actors would sing, they might change tempo or change like certain pitches or notes. And so they would then go into the recording studio that night or the next morning.
See, I feel like that's almost way better.
I do too. And he was like, it kind of worked out. And so like, they had like leading up to it, they obviously had recorded things for the first few weeks of shooting, but he said they basically got into this rhythm.
Wow.
Were allowed the actors and then like Joel to have this freedom to work with them. So if anything changed, they could just go into the booth. Easy. Get it that way.
Wow. I feel like Helena would have had so much better of a time had this happened on Sweeney Todd.
It's a little bit more like fluid and a little bit more
acting
like
driven. Yeah.
Also, I'm like, Gerard Butler must have loved that because he just got better. And better and better and better. So like by the time he did certain things, I'm sure he was like, this is great. I have like weeks to figure this out, or like I can rehearse this on
practice.
set. Yeah. We have the release date. So it was released in the UK first on December 10th and then in the US December 22nd. It was
similar release patterns even.
I know. Too. Yeah. In December. Again, neither of these Christmas though, which I think these both would have potentially done well on that. Yours
I agree.
had it in the tagline.
Yeah, it's right there.
And it was a limited theatrical release, so they did 622 theaters, and it opened 10th place at the box office, earning 6.3 million over 5 days. And then, would you like to take a stab at how much mine made? Because again,
oh God, I feel like this did well. I don't know if it did as well as Sweeney Todd though. I
what
almost
was
feel like
yours? What was Sweeney Todd?
150 something.
You're gonna laugh.
Let's see. I feel like is it maybe closer to like 120?
It's 150 something.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
154.6
Oh my
million.
God. Right on the money. That's
I know, isn't it
wild.
funny? I know when you said that, I was
God.
like, oh shit. So,
Yep, look at that.
considering this one had a bigger budget, it did
Mm-hmm.
well, but I do think people were just like, it had a mixed bag of reviews. I'm sure there were a lot of people being like, I don't want to see this version. But I'm like, Andrew
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd Webber is attached to it.
Yeah. It's not done without the permission of the author in any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
there the whole time.
Yeah. So it made its money back. It did well, but I do think with the kind of split audience, it didn't do as well as it could have.
Mm-hmm.
It has a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. It has
Not
a
bad.
32 from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 84 from audiences.
Whoa!
Isn't that wild?
That has to be our biggest split yet.
I think it's our
That's
biggest gap
gotta
by
be.
far. By
Oh
far.
my God.
I don't even have critics'
Wow.
reviews because they fucking hated it,
Yeah.
even though it also got nominations for award
Wow.
season. So 2004, it had noms for the Oscars in Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, Best Original Song, and it was nominated, didn't win. Golden Globes, it got nominated for Best Musical or Comedy, Best Actress for Emmy
Mm-hmm.
Rossum,
Mm-hmm.
and Best Original Song, did not win.
Wow.
And Saturn Awards, it got nominated for Best Action Adventure Thriller Film. Wild. Best performance by a younger actor, so Emmy Rossum, she did win. And
Good.
Best Costumes, which I think it should have been up for costumes for the
Everything.
other two
Yeah,
awards as
I'm
well.
surprised that it didn't get more costume nominations.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
again, the masquerade scene alone. But again, I think I don't even know what the competition was for in 2004. I probably should have
That's
looked that up
fair.
as well. But yeah, again, really divisive audiences. It was really hard to like pull in quotes. I feel like everyone has an opinion about this film
Mm-hmm.
themselves. I think I'm really late to the party on this one. But yeah, so I think that is the end of it.
Oh my gosh.
That's a weird place for me to end. Sorry, guys. I'm like looking and I'm like, I kind of skipped around at the end here. I think just kind of like yours, Joel Schumacher talked about, they knew that they were going in. They're not making a stage play. They were trying
Mm-hmm.
to make something for film. They really love it. I think even I have a quote from Patrick Wilson saying like at the beginning, he's like, I know, this is going to be a film. This isn't a stage play. We have to enter this
Mm-hmm.
differently. And so everyone seemed
Absolutely.
really proud of it and they seemed like they had a lot of fun
Good.
making it. So
Good. It's
oh
one of
boy.
one of the notes that I took afterwards after this revisit was like it really feels like a movie length music video. Like so much of the
Mm,
styling of it, the way it relates to the music, like it feels very like MTV influenced. Not in a bad way,
mhm.
just like it feels even like the lighting in particular, like the
Yeah.
way it's styled and
The
presented.
lighting got a lot of critiques online too. Like I was even looking on Reddit and
Oh,
people are really bothered
interesting.
by the lighting and I'm like, I like it. I think
That's
it's really
fast.
good. But you're right. Like I do think it comes um from the DP who like did music videos and like there
It's
were
super stylized. Yeah.
absolutely. So
Oh, that's so interesting. Because I like paused the movie because I watched this one without Dana, but I like paused at one point and like brought the computer over to her and was like, Dana, tell me what's going on with this lighting because like there's something going on and I can't figure out what it
there's
was.
so much.
And like her little tidbit because she like looked at it and then was like, I need to look up what this was shot on. And so then she went and looked up what it
Oh,
was
yeah,
shot on.
yeah.
And it was all shot on anamorphic lenses. And so I think
Makes
that's
sense.
part of why the light looks a little bit weird in certain places is like when there's like lens flares happening with anamorphic lenses with these specific ones at least it's like really not only all anamorphic when you get like a light hitting it like that, it kind of like spreads out the light, like it stretches sideways across the frame. But here, especially in the parts where the exposure is the highest, where like the brightest parts of the frame, in certain shots it almost starts to look like a little bit muddy. And I think it's not the fault of the lighting. I think it's the way it's playing off those lenses.
Sure.
But just it's like got a very distinct look to it.
There are some like RuPaul's season 1 like filters on Emmy sometimes where I almost wish, and it's not like every scene, or it's not like a certain specific moment, or like when these moments are happening, this is the lighting, because she's like in this fantasy about fandom. Not that I could clock, at least. But
there's not like a whole lot of consistency to when it's being used. Yeah. But I noticed the same thing too. It was like there's like a filter being used at weird points.
It's not consistent, and there's no like rhyme or reason. It's just like, here it is.
Yeah. It feels right for this shot. Don't ask us why.
This looks pretty. If this was a picture, it'd be great. It's like, it has to go with all these other pictures. That was a big critique, and like it's valid for things like that too. I don't know. Funny. I love it, and I just want to live in every frame of that movie.
It's a very like it's definitely like a really fleshed out movie world. Like it really feels like you could walk off the edge of the frame and it would just keep going.
It's because they built every single fucking set.
We love
everything. The making of shows Anthony Pratt going through just like his model of reference points for like so the realistic entire, like how everything kind of flows together. It's insane. And the theater so too. Cool. Watching them construct that theater, like everyone please go watch the behind the scenes like making of. It's 45 minutes on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like insane that they said they could have shot at a theater, but they wanted it to be specifically their vision for this movie. And it's insane.
It's so huge. Extra. I love it. Yeah. Very on brand for the musical it is.
Yeah. Every single seat in that thing was handmade. So I love it. Wow. I hope I did it justice. I don't know why I'm like, my caffeine's kicking in at fucking 11. I feel like my heart's, I'm freezing in here because the heat's not kicking out. I hope I sounded okay for all of you guys. Oh my God. Friday the 13th is really kicking my ass today. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
These were fun. I really liked
this. They're a really beefy pairing. This is, I feel like we definitely, I think the people have spoken. I think we should do another movie musical pairing at some point. I feel like the overlap of audiences there. I'm getting the feedback that people are really into that. But we're gonna go in a completely different direction for our next pairing, aren't we?
Flash from this.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I feel like we kind of like to do that. We like to keep mixing it up as much as possible. Should we share what we've got cooking up next?
Like we've talked about these two probably since like episode 3 at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. This has been a long time coming. We're finally doing like a proper torture porn pairing, because like we've done like little bits of it before, but this is like I feel like with our Wolf Creek Hills Have Eyes pairing, that was much more about like desert horror. It wasn't really about that like specific subgenre. So now it's
true
time.
God, I'm gonna like, I love these movies. Boy, are these quite the double feature. So I'm gonna be doing 2005's Hostel, Eli Roth. I'm very excited to rewatch it.
And I'm going to be doing 2004's Saw, which I have never seen, but I know that Gene Schoenbrunn is a really big fan of it, and I'm such a big fan of Gene Schoenbrunn that like anything that they watch, I will watch too.
I mean, the original Saw, like, man.
I understand it's very queer. Like, that's the impression that I get.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a lot of like Pride Month.
That tracks.
Horror lineup, so
definitely tracks.
It's been a minute since I watched Saw, so I'm excited to like rewatch the very first one again.
Go back to where it all began. Yeah,
truly.
Yeah, I've only encountered Jigsaw through like parodies in other media. Like I've seen the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they like do a saw, but I've not seen a saw. So
oh man, I mean,
to fix that.
The first one's the best one, honestly, for me at least. It's the franchise kind of got out there for a minute. Unlike Final Destination, where I'm like, I'm along for the ride every time.
Yeah.
I fell off Saw for a little bit, so I'm hoping this actually like kickstarts me rewatching the franchise again and like catching up to some of the newer ones.
You fell off the Saw seesaw?
Listen, I was riding my little trike, took a left turn, ended up in a bear trap.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't get those references yet, but I'm assuming from context clues that this happens in the movie.
It's the little bike. I don't know if the bike happens. It's gotta happen, right?
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited to watch these ones. So
that's gonna be
it'll
fun.
be a heavy,
really,
gruesome.
Really different vibes from this. I have a feeling there's not going to be a music theory rant corner coming for that one. But it was fun to get to do that for this. Yeah,
but rant corner.
Rant corner indeed. I'm sure there will be a rant corner for it. Yeah,
it'll be fun to finally do these. So
yeah, I'm stoked. What else do we have to touch on? What other business do we have? I feel like
just film recs would be great. I love kind of like hearing from people like. Drop it anywhere, a DM, a comment.
I've been seeing more comments of recs, and I want you to know that I write every single one of them down, and I put them all on a spreadsheet for us, and when you list pairing ideas, I put those down too. Like they all get compiled and used, and we will get to most of them at some point, if not all of them. Yeah.
They're also like everyone's recommending really good things, or validating things that we want to cover that we've talked about forever. So it's
a lot of the time, y'all will recommend something, and it gives us an excuse to cover something that we've been really wanting to. So keep doing that. We love it.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I feel like we can keep it light. Again, me and Siena are doing this show now on our own. So if you have the means and feel so inclined, I understand the state of the world. There is a support the pod, and it really helps kind of cover our base costs. So that would be amazing. Thank you to all the people that are already doing that. It is extremely helpful.
Love you. We are
kind.
Eternally indebted to you. Please keep it up. If you have the means to join, it really does make a difference. And like also just like, Al and I pour so much time and love into this, and it makes us feel like, oh, it means something to somebody out there. And like that's really it's like good like warm fuzzies for us, as well as like the help to keep it going. So thank you for that.
Truly. And if you can't do that, share and comment on things. That is also so extremely helpful.
And also so validating. We thrive off of that. Yeah.
Listen, we try and nerd out on things we think are cool, and it's cool that you guys think what we're talking about is cool.
Yeah. So keep that coming. Yeah.
I think that's kind of it.
I think that's it. Yeah, keep it sleazy.
Let's keep it sleazy. It's late. I need to fucking go drink water.
I have not had dinner yet, and I'm feeling myself get to that point of like, I'm feeling a little woozy. Yeah. I need to go get some Mrs. Lovett meat pies into this Mrs. Lovett.
Truly. Hope you all have a wonderful week, and thank you to our momager Trav on the other end of this for keeping us in check as much as you can, even when we blab well past the time frames that you set.
So far past the time. We knew this was going to happen on this one, and I love that we both went almost the exact same length too. That's very fun. That often doesn't happen. Also love every time that Trav pops into the chat with little cunty remarks about what we're talking about. Enjoy that quite a bit. Thank you to Dana Sanama for helping me get the lights set up on my end, and also for sharing little Dana tids for me to relay the Dana Corner to relay on air. Thank you to Theo Schaefer for our wonderful theme song playing us out. Thank you, Al, for being such a wonderful pod co-host.
Thank you, Siena, for listening to me blab.
We love a good blab sesh. And thank you all for listening to Splice and Splatter, the film podcast where classic horror
meets modern gore.
And until next time, we'll be right back.